will now begin with the ceremonial part of the Council of Ministers of the Cocoa Producers Alliance. There will be 6 interventions during this part of the ceremony. The first one, of course, will be a welcome address by the Deputy Minister of Finance of Ghana. There will be a statement by the Chairman of the General Assembly of the Cocoa Producers Alliance. There will be a statement by the Chairman of the Council of Ministers. There will be statements by the heads of delegations, and then there will be the opening speech by the representative of the government of the Republic of Ghana. So in all, there will be statements from all member countries, but to lead us off, I'll invite the Deputy Minister of Finance, Professor Jambafo, to deliver his welcome address.
Honorable Minister for Food and Agriculture, representing His Excellency John Adekunku, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Chairman and Executives of the Council of Ministers, Chairman of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, the Secretary General of Copal, colleague ministers, Chairman and Board of Directors, Ghana Cocoa Board, Chief Executive of Ghana Cocoa Board, distinguished heads of delegation, ladies and gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor for me to welcome ministers to the 2007 Council of Ministers meeting here in Accra. Over the past 2 months, Ghana has played host to 3 important cocoa events, namely the 2nd Summit of Heads of State and Government of African Cocoa Producers, the International Cocoa Organization Roundtable on a Sustainable World Cocoa Economy, and of course today's meeting preceded by that of the General Assembly over the past 4 days. In this 50th year of our independence, we have been lucky in attracting these meetings. We thank you all for this wonderful gesture and show of solidarity with our country. Colleague ministers, your presence at this meeting assures us of the importance of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, in fact, to our respective countries. We should strive to increase our influence in the world cocoa economy by our commitment to the ideals of this alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, in this wise, I wish to thank all participants who have come here to join in the deliberations of Copal. I will also want to take advantage of this platform to urge all non-member states to join us to maximize the advantage that such an alliance presents. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to seize the opportunity to congratulate the various executives of the 4 committees for their hard work and also urge the incoming ones to be guided by the objectives of Copal. On behalf of the government and people of Ghana, especially cocoa industry players, I warmly welcome you to the 2007 Council of Ministers meeting and to the city of Accra. I wish you a successful meeting, hoping that we can reach consensus on the issues that will come before us. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I say welcome, I say akwaba to colleague ministers, and wish you all an enjoyable stay in Ghana. May God bless us all, and thank you for listening.
We'll next call on the Chairman of the General Assembly to make his opening remarks. Thank you.
Señores miembros de la mesa principal, señores delegados, primero lamento hablar en español, pero como hay traducción, podrán entenderme.
Señores,
Delegados,
señoras y señores.
durante una semana
For a week we have we have enjoyed the hospitality and the generosity of the government and the people of Ghana. And here we've felt very much at home, and we discussed the number of problems, issues which confront currently the economy.
These problems yes, I think
having a small
technical problem.
We have
Good.
Yeah, I was saying that,
as I was saying, for 1 week we have had the opportunity to discuss, to enjoy
the hospitality
of the people and government of Ghana, and we have come to major understandings. We have come to major understandings amongst us to work both for member countries as well as for cocoa administrations. For many years, the problems both the cocoa producer as well as the people determining the prices, we have had problems in all these areas. We also discussed prices. We had the opportunity to add value to cocoa. Each time in international meetings like this one, we have the opportunity to take a common position, to adopt a common position. Up to now, this has been a weakness of cocoa producers. We have never had a common stand, whereas the consumers have a common stand. In addition to this, they are numberless, the consumers are numberless. We believe that these kinds of fora will give us opportunities to exchange opinions, and above all, compare and discuss the problems that we have with a view to improving our agricultural industry. We were saying that the Alliance has opportunity. The Alliance has all the opportunity to transform itself in this great forum and to improve conditions in producing countries. Each time when we meet, we are great producers of cocoa, and here we are not a member of the International Cocoa Organization. So our General Secretary, I'm employing our General Secretary so that when he goes to such meetings, he will speak for cocoa producing countries, so that together we will be able to chalk some successes, so that we'll have higher prices. But at least we can have the certitude that people will have to pay remunerative prices for our cocoa that they buy. In every commercial activity there must be certitude. But in agriculture, I don't know which countries are doing well, but at least we, third world countries, do not have guaranteed prices. So this is something negative which directly influences our prices also. In the discussions that we had, we tackled most of the problems facing us in the cocoa world. We hope that after this forum, and Abeva with the final report, when the new cocoa agreement comes into effect, I hope that we will be able to adopt a common position to fight for the welfare of all the producers of cocoa. Thank you very much.
Umaru Musa Yaradua, GCFR, as well as those of the government and people of Nigeria. I also wish to appreciate and commend His Excellency Mr. President John Kufuor, President of the Federal Republic of Ghana, and the government and people of Ghana for accepting to host the 70th General Assembly and Council of Ministers meeting, even when Nigeria is supposed to be chairing the Copal Council for the 2006 and 2007 cocoa year. You will recall that we just concluded a transition program that culminated in the inauguration of a new administration in Nigeria on May 29th, 2007, and it was this that affected a lot of events in Nigeria and made it necessary for us perhaps to request the hosting of this event in Ghana. Cocoa is a very important commodity to our respective economies, given that millions of families derive their livelihood from its production, processing, warehousing, transportation, marketing of that commodity. The fact that Copal members produce about 90% of the world cocoa even makes the sustainability of cocoa production very crucial to the economies of all member countries. In this regard, let me specifically commend President John Kufuor of Ghana for taking steps recently to guarantee producer prices for local cocoa farmers in Ghana in a way that protects them from the vagaries of international market volatilities. This is indeed a very good initiative, having regard to the importance of cocoa in the lives of the people. On its part, Nigeria is taking definite steps aimed at repositioning the status of cocoa in the economy. For instance, government is becoming more interested on issues related to cocoa production, local consumption, marketing, especially the emerging markets of China, India, and South Africa, and in processing, particularly with emphasis on value addition. We have also undertaken aggressive publicity aimed at promoting the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa. Most of these are contained in information bulletins being produced and circulated by the government. It is particularly important to draw attention to the enormous potential which China represents, and therefore Copal should target China as a major market to break into. Indeed, it is worthwhile to consider appointing a specialist or a consultant to provide detailed advisory on this, as well as other emerging markets. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we may never reap the full benefits if we continue to export our cocoa in the crude form as it is presently the case. There is need to promote value addition to this commodity, especially as a way to earn more revenue. On its part, Nigeria has started promoting the production of cocoa powder in collaboration with the private sector. Very shortly also, we intend to establish industrial parks, industrial clusters, and enterprise zones with infrastructure as a way to attract investors to set up manufacturing companies to process most of our primary products, including cocoa. Nigeria is equally committed to the promotion of consumption of cocoa
As a demonstration of this, government has approved a sum of $500,000 through the promotion fund of Copal, which was approved by this council. We hope that other member states will follow suit. We are also concerned about the indiscriminate use of pesticides in cocoa production. This is in cognizance of the possible negative implications that it is bound to have on public and environmental health. Hence, we have set up a ministerial action committee on pesticide residue and usage in cocoa to ensure that pesticides are used rationally and that maximum residue limits are set and observed, while farmers are taught good agricultural practices. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there may be no better time than now for us to take a more critical look at the issue of supply management of cocoa products. We cannot reap maximum benefits, neither can we control the price of cocoa in the international market if we do not regulate and control the price of cocoa in the international market. It is important that we manage the supply of the commodity to the market to ensure stable delivery, stable supplies, without causing any major dislocations that will lead to price collapse. This may therefore be the time for us to revisit the production management plan which was approved in Libreville a few years ago. Nigeria is exploring the utilization of commodity exchange in this regard, and we will suggest similar to those countries who are able to do so. Nigeria has not gone back on its commitment to provide befitting residential accommodation for the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General of Copal in Lagos. I'm sorry that there was some delay, but in no distant time, this promise will be realized. Let me at this juncture appreciate the efforts of our team of technocrats and the various committees who have worked around the clock to ensure that we have the recommendations being presented to this council for ratification today. I also wish to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity given to me to serve as chairman of this important council. No doubt, I could not have done anything without your support and cooperation. Finally, I wish to thank the President of Ghana. I'm really excited and pleased to see the beautiful city of Accra, and I commend the President for the way that he's running the country and for the quality of life that I see here. I commend you, my Ghana brothers. I would also like to thank the Secretary General for his hard work and for his commitment to our success. So I look forward to the conclusions that will come through from this meeting of the Council of Ministers. Thank you very much indeed for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, distinguished Chairman of Council. Now is the turn for the delegations to make their various declarations. We'll begin, of course, with Cameroon in the absence of Brazil, followed by Cote d'Ivoire, the Dominican Republic, Gabon, Ghana, Malaysia, Nigeria, and finally with Togo. Cameroon, please.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Honorable Minister of Food and Agriculture, distinguished ministers, excellencies, members of government, the chairperson of the General Assembly, the chairperson of the Council of Ministers, the chief executive of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Secretary General of Copal, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a singular pleasure for me, on behalf of Cameroon's delegation to the 70th General Assembly and Council of Ministers of Cocoa Producers Alliance, to take the floor to deliver this address on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Trade, substantive head of the Cameroon delegation. Permit me first of all to extend to you his warm greetings and apology for not being able to be here today due to other urgent state commitments. He has expressly asked me to inform this August Assembly that he is here with us in spirit and will endorse the proceedings of our deliberations. Our delegation would like to seize this opportunity to sincerely thank the authorities of Ghana and the Ghana Cocoa Board in particular for all the kindness, warmth, and attention which have contributed to make our stay in Ghana most pleasurable. We would also like to extend our gratitude to the other delegations for their commitment and support to our organization. The cocoa industry is facing new challenges, even though some of us have not yet come out of the quagmire created by a precipitated liberalization process. This exercise was intended to improve farmers' livelihood by fetching more remunerative prices for their investments in cocoa farming. Not only have prices continued to be unattractive, they are most uncertain. Today, we are facing new challenges in the cocoa sector, problems linked to environmental conservation and social upliftment. We hope that these new issues will not lead to an exacerbation of the prevailing situation. There is, however, hope. We have witnessed in the last couple of months initiatives intended to address the situation. The Global Initiative on Commodities Conference, organized in Brasilia in May 2007 by the Common Fund for Commodities, which sought to relaunch the commodity agenda from a poverty reduction and development perspective, and also raise the profile, awareness, and understanding of commodity issues. The just ended roundtable conference on the sustainability of the cocoa economy, organized by ICO here in Ghana, also seeks to find ways and means of running the cocoa economy truly sustainable for all stakeholders. We strongly hope that the crucial issue of remunerative prices will be given the attention it deserves. Last but not the least is the projected high-profile conference on the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa consumption to be organized by ICCO and scheduled to take place in London in January 2008. If the findings of these initiatives are properly monitored and exploited, we might still witness better days ahead. The Cocoa Producers Alliance, piloted by the experience and capable hands of its Secretary General, has a duty to take advantage of this momentum and pursue actions which will result in the improvement of the livelihood of our hardworking cocoa farmers. The task is uphill, but as we say in common parlance, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We cannot end this statement without extending our gratitude to our big brother neighbor Nigeria and to its illustrious former head of state, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, for launching contributions to the promotion fund of our organization with a very healthy sum of $500,000. Mr. President, thank you very much. This money would go a long way to kickstart Copal's promotion activities towards increasing local transformation and consumption. Your Excellencies, distinguished members of government, distinguished delegates, it is on this note of hope that we take leave of Accra. Once more, thank you for everything, and may God bless us all.
Minister in charge of Commerce, Minister of Commerce.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, who is representing His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor, President of the Republic of Ghana, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers of the Member States of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, Excellencies, members of the Council of Ministers of Cocoa Producing Countries, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, ambassadors, His Excellency, the Secretary General of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, distinguished delegates, members of this organization, observers, ladies and gentlemen of the international community. Before I start my comments, I wish to confer warm regards from the President and people of Cote d'Ivoire to His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor, who has ensured the effective holding of this ceremony in order to advance the interests of the cocoa industry. I also wish to convey on behalf of the government and people of Cote d'Ivoire the best wishes of prosperity to the people of Ghana, which has just marked
the 50th anniversary of a very flourishing cocoa industry. And on behalf of my delegation, I wish to convey my gratitude to the government of Ghana and the Copal Secretariat for the warm welcome accorded to us since we arrived in this beautiful city of Accra. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to express our delight at the good results that have come from this General Assembly after these few days of deliberations. Especially, we commend the decision of the General Assembly with the aim of bringing together all the producing countries in Brazil in 2008 in order to seek sustainable solutions to regulate the supply of cocoa on the world market. We are convinced that this initiative will lead to the improvement in the prices and income of our smallholder farmers. For my country, Côte d'Ivoire, the 70th General Assembly of a common organization will enable us to consolidate our gains and also envisage the promising prospects for the future. For our Secretary General, the most important thing is to get further involved in the formulation of ambitious programs which will strengthen our position as far as cocoa supply on the world market is concerned. Distinguished delegates, this is the message that the Honorable Minister of Trade of Côte d'Ivoire will this morning wish to convey to the General Assembly of this meeting. I thank you for your kind attention.
The Chairman of the Council of Ministers, wrote to our Minister of Agriculture, the engineers Sabador, Mihian, Jimenez, but he was unable to come because he other duties took him to the United Nations in a meeting involving some heads of state. However, on his behalf, we are going to make the following declaration. The Dominican Republic, being an active member of the Alliance of Cocoa Producing Countries, Copal, cannot be present in this 70th General Assembly and its Council of Ministers meeting which are taking place here. And through them, I wish to offer a warm embrace to the people and government of Ghana for having accepted to organize this successful meeting. With the presence of the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Ernest Debra, in this assembly shows the importance that the people of Ghana attach to the golden pot. Yes, indeed. This is a testimony to the great importance that the people attach to the golden pot. And Ghana is one of the leading countries of cocoa. And cocoa is the mainstay of the economy of Ghana. The problems facing the cocoa industry are enormous, especially after the European Union came out with a directive on 5% use of raw materials apart from cocoa butter. And that has been one of the major causes of the fall in the consumption of cocoa in the world. For this reason, in the last meeting of the Council of the International Cocoa Organization, ICCO, we presented a number of manufactured products within the European Union with misleading labels And this is a practice, this is unfair trade practice, since they put labels on products which are not cocoa or chocolate, creating the impression that they are. For this reason, at the conference that the United Nations will convene to prolong or modify the International Cocoa Agreement in 2001, our countries must send experts to that meeting to modify or suggest steps that will not penalize the cocoa producers. Hard times are ahead of us. Every country, every manufacturing country must consolidate itself, and we should have a clear policy that will enable us to face the fight with success. And these measures have constituted themselves into something that we call ladle and boldo, which gives all advantages, most advantages to consumer countries and fewer to fewer countries. I like to live here with the understanding that we are going to close our ranks and then make efforts to improve the cocoa industry. If we are united, then we will be able, and if we are better organized also, we will be able to chalk successes. Yes, indeed, especially if we present a common front. Next year, my country will take over the presidency of Copal, and this is an honor that is going to be bestowed on us. And we will, with professionalism and solidarity, do our work. We have the solemn commitment to present to our authorities the 71st General Assembly and the Council of Ministers meeting will take place in Dominican Republic. We don't have the mandate to make this announcement official, but we can assure you that when I go back to my country, necessary steps will be taken for formal invitation to be sent to you. I'd like to express my gratitude to the host country for all the attention that it has accorded us. And we should also seek to add new members so that our fight will be a success and a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, representing His Excellency the President of Ghana, Honorable Ministers, the current chairperson of Copal, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. By taking the floor before this assembly, I wish to express my pleasant duty to convey to you the greetings of the Minister of Agriculture, to his and President of my country, to His Excellency John Ajekun Kufuor, President of Ghana, from his brother and friend, President Omar Bongo of Gabon. Gabon really feels honored by the distinguished and remarkable presence of President Kufuor during Gabon's independence anniversary. So it is with the express, at the express request of His Excellency the President of Gabon, that I'm participating in this ministerial meeting. And also our current Prime Minister earlier on had led a delegation to one of Copal's meetings, and he conveys to all members here and expresses his friendship and fond memories of their last meeting, and expresses his best wishes for the success of these deliberations. I also wish to convey my gratitude to the people of Ghana for the warm and spontaneous welcome that has enabled us all to work under ideal conditions. The Council of Ministers of the Alliance, in which I have the honor to participate, has had a very fruitful week of exchanges. Earlier on, you had the ICCO meeting, and then now you have the General Assembly of the Cocoa Producers Alliance. Accra, therefore, during this period, was the world capital of cocoa, so to speak, and that has really made enable this country to really perform this wonderful deed. And I wish to express my deep gratitude to the government of Ghana, its people, and the organizers of this meeting for the warm welcome that was accorded to my delegation and myself here in Accra. As usual, it is the legendary Ghanaian hospitality at work. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, representing the President of the Republic, Gabon really feels highly honored to participate in this meeting, as it has always done up till now, since in spite of our very modest level of production, we have always want to learn from those who are the best in this field, and always wish to participate in activities of the world cocoa economy. And the issue of ensuring a sustainable world cocoa economy has been a major preoccupation in these activities, to ensure the sustainability and the welfare of our cocoa farmers and their activities, and we also have to look at it in terms of preventing a kind of negative sustainability, where that is that of always engendering a kind of poverty atmosphere or climate. No, we together as producers, distributors, we need to do everything to ensure that the cocoa economy moves ahead, and as public authorities we need to work towards ensuring that there will be more good benefits from this industry. We also have to ensure the stimulation of demand in order to promote economic growth. Our country, Gabon, currently feels that its action must dwell on ensuring remunerative prices to ensure poverty alleviation in our rural areas, and this must go in line with the development of the cocoa industry generally, and it is within the perspective of our general strategy of ensuring rapid poverty alleviation, and do this in order to ensure better general economic growth. The development of the cocoa industry in my country is identified as one of the instruments of combating poverty in the rural areas, and also ensuring growth, economic growth generally. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to attain this objective, first of all, we are counting on our own efforts first and foremost, and we wish to benefit from the support of other states which are more experienced, like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, or even Malaysia, which we've had a lot of cooperation with, thanks to Copal's activities. Other ideas that have been developed here, like the strengthening of the role of Copal, has been well received in my country. And the vision of the Secretary General seems to be advancing the ultimate interest of our organization. And our new mission, we need more ambitious policies to move into the future, and also look critically at other areas like research, where we are really depending on. Just with these desires that I wish resounding success to these deliberations. I thank you all.
Honorable Ministers, Chairman of General Assembly, Secretary General of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, Honorable Delegates, the President of the Ghana Cocoa, Coffee and Shea Nut Association, representing cocoa farmers of Ghana, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is with much pleasure that I again take the floor at this moment to address the 2007 Council of Ministers meeting of the Cocoa Producers Alliance. I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the Council for selecting Ghana once again to host this year's meeting, coming so soon after the 2005 meeting which was held in Accra. As colleagues are aware of, and as has been said by His Excellency the Chairman of the Council of Ministers, this year's meeting was originally scheduled to be held in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but had to be relocated here while that great country focused on going through a period of transition following the national elections and the formation of a new government. May I take this opportunity to congratulate Nigeria for the successful elections and smooth transition, and also for honoring Ghana by agreeing to the decision to hold this 70th Copal General Assembly and Council of Ministers meeting here in Ghana. Let me also thank the Federal Republic of Nigeria for contributing $500,000 towards the establishment of the Consumption Promotion Fund of Copal, and to assure the Alliance that Ghana will shortly follow Nigeria's noble example. On behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Ghana, I usher you into this meeting with a warm and fraternal welcome and an outstanding Ghanaian hospitality reserved for you to enable you to feel at home, especially my colleagues who are coming to the country for the first time. I further convey the best wishes from the government and the people of this country to you for fruitful deliberations today. Indeed, our acceptance to host this meeting here and make it a reality today signifies the importance that Ghana attaches to the Cocoa Producers Alliance. I wish to express and reassure colleagues our country's solidarity with the hard work and success of the Alliance, and will continue to collaborate in our efforts to build a strong and prosperous alliance. As you are aware, dear colleagues, in her Golden Jubilee year, Ghana has successfully hosted 5 cocoa events and programs this year. All these events have the ultimate aim of discussing initiatives towards sustaining the world cocoa economy and ensuring that our illustrious cocoa farmers achieve and maintain sustainable livelihood. Mr. Chairman, as we are all very much aware of, the world cocoa economy faces several challenges along various stages of the cocoa value chain, which make necessary meetings of this nature so as to provide the forum for member countries to discuss the progress of the alliance. Mr. Chairman, over the past 4 days, I'm sure that the deliberations of the General Assembly have been most productive and will have considered issues pertinent to the alliance. We will soon be considering the report of the General Assembly, and I look forward to their recommendations. A number of activities have taken place in Ghana over the past years towards the promotion of cocoa. On the issue of consumption, the campaign has been taken to another level. At various meetings held in Accra, exhibitions of cocoa products have been held. The Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations has designated 14th February each year as National Chocolate Day in Ghana, in addition to the annual Copal Cocoa Day celebration on 1st of October to promote domestic and international consumption of cocoa products. Mr. Chairman, indeed, on that National Chocolate Day this year, the popular Golden Tree chocolate produced in Ghana was really in short supply. That shows the success of this day. We were also honored to have His Excellency President John Adjei Kufuor as the guest of honor at this year's Copal Cocoa Day held at Bibiani in the western region of Ghana, where more than half of the country's cocoa come from. We strongly believe that such promotional efforts will go a long way to increase per capita consumption of cocoa. Ghana is implementing numerous policy measures to ensure the sustainability of this industry, including ensuring that the quality of Ghana's cocoa beans is sustained by encouraging and promoting good agronomic practices, provision of high-yielding and disease-resistant planting materials and fertilizer applications, payment of remunerative prices to farmers by ensuring that the farmer's share of the net FOB is maintained at a minimum of 70%, and to this end there is a constant review of the producer prices of cocoa and payment of bonuses to farmers. In addition, provision of about $50 million was made this year for tarring of roads in cocoa growing areas, and about 531 kilometers of cocoa will be covered under this program. Ghana, Chairman, is undertaking a hydroelectric power project at a cost of $622 million and is being supported partly through a cocoa sales agreement signed with government of the People's Republic of China. This will also help explore the market in China as part of the Alliance's effort to promote cocoa consumption in the emerging economies. Mr. Chairman, the government of Ghana will continue to take measures to eliminate any cases of worst forms of child labor on cocoa farms, and will support and collaborate with the other stakeholders and partners to implement the national program on the elimination of child labor in cocoa. We will ask for cooperation and understanding from all consuming countries as we take the necessary measures to tackle these challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana government will continue to support the activities of our alliance. We need, however, to intensify our efforts to bring in other cocoa producing countries that are not members of this alliance. Out of the 17 African cocoa producers, only 7 are members of Copal. There are other countries in Central America and Asia that we should make efforts to attract to join the alliance as well. It is the hope of Ghana that the Secretariat will spare no effort in getting a number of these countries to be members of this great alliance. Our alliance will thus become stronger if that is done. I wish to emphasize that there is strength in unity. Therefore, our alliance should endeavor to encourage all and sundry cocoa producing countries to join us to provide a common front in sustaining the cocoa economy. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Ghana, I wish to take the opportunity to wish Copal well and hope that our deliberations will lead to taking concrete decisions towards the sustainability of the cocoa economy in our various countries. Once again, I thank you for making it to Ghana and to this important meeting. I entreat you to enjoy the Ghanaian hospitality. Long live Copal and long live Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of His Excellency Dato' Anifah Aman, Deputy Minister of Plantation Industries and Commodities Malaysia, I would like to extend his apology for not being able to attend this meeting as planned due to unforeseen circumstances. I shall read his speech on behalf. The Chairman of Council of Ministers, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Let me first begin by conveying my minister's apology for not being able to attend this meeting here today due to his various earlier commitments. He extends his best wishes to all members of the Alliance and hopes that this meeting of the Council of Ministers would be a resounding success. Excellencies, a year has passed since we last met. I am glad to note that Copal has undertaken various activities in the form of conferences and workshops. This is commendable in spite of the lean structure of Copal. I do hope that these activities have impacted the world cocoa economy, especially in the interest of producers. I am also pleased to note that through the Economic Committee, Copal is planning for a workshop to address some of the policy issues and modes of the implementation in each country. Malaysia looks forward to this. But on the outset, I must caution that the coordination of policies between countries is something difficult to implement, as each country is peculiar with different economic objectives, cultures and leadership. As such, Malaysia hopes that serious deliberations be given to some of these policy issues, especially those related to prices, as this will impact on the sustainability of cocoa industry. Excellencies, I was informed that some of the work done or being planned by Copal is similar nature to that of ICCO. It would be beneficial if we could strategize and plan our work so that there will not be any duplication with what has been done by ICCO. After all, both are for the betterment of the cocoa industry, or else we will be wasting our limited resources. It should be foremost in our mind that whatever we do, it should be benefit the cocoa farmers or smallholders who have toiled their farm to produce more than 90% of the world's cocoa beans. We must also optimize the use of funds derived from members' contribution for the benefits of members. I am delighted to note that the ad hoc committee on harmonization of salaries and allowances have met and deliberated on the proposal to improve the salary structure and optimizing staff strength so as to make Copal more efficient. However, with the current financial position of Copal and where payment of contribution from some members are seen in areas, the recommendations of the ad hoc committee need to be carefully thought through so as not to further compromise the financial standing of Copal. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, Asia has become a hub of activities, including cocoa production and consumption. Even more exciting are developments in grinding capacity as well as new production areas for cocoa production, particularly among the members of Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN. Perhaps we should now look beyond our shores to seek new markets in Asia, not only to market our beans, but also to recruit new members from Asia. Other major producing countries like Indonesia and even India should be persuaded to join Copal. I believe that plans have been made to get them on board. Taking up from this, I am concerned by the poor response of members to the call by Copal to pay their contribution in due course. The failure on the part of the members to carry out their responsibilities in paying up their dues would definitely affect the performance of Copal. I would like to reiterate that the Alliance should find ways to entice members to pay their contribution on time and at the same time formulate strategies to increase membership. With more members, the contribution will be shared at a lesser rate. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with that I would like to take the opportunity here to thank the host, the government and the wonderful people of Republic of Ghana for the excellent hospitality and reception extended to my delegation since the arrival in Accra. Thank you.
distingués délégués, mesdames et messieurs, le ministre togolais du Commerce, M. Jean-Lucien Sanvi-de-Tové, a bien voulu personnellement prendre part aux travaux du présent Conseil des ministres de Copal, mais empêché, il m'a fait l'insigne honneur de me désigner pour le représenter. Il me charge de présenter ses excuses au président du Conseil, au secrétaire général.
Convey his apologies to the President of the Council and to the Secretary General, and his Togo commends the commitment and measures instituted by the President of the Republic of Ghana to advance the cause of the cocoa industry, as testified in the hosting of several important meetings like this one in his country. Ladies and gentlemen, a little more than a month ago, the Second African Cocoa Summit was held in this very plush Accra International Conference Center, where a roadmap was drawn up to ensure the direction of the cocoa industry, and which constituted a genuine opportunity for development and welfare of our people. This initiative by prominent African leaders testifies to the advent of a new era, which shows that nothing will be the same as it was in the past. This in terms of value addition to our primary products. It will be highly desirable for this trend or movement to be extended to other heads of state of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, in order to combine ourselves and avail ourselves of this major turning point in the history of the Cocoa Producers Alliance, in order to resolutely commit ourselves to the promotion of the consumption of cocoa within our countries, and to restore the fundamental balances of the market, and thereby guarantee a remunerative price to our farmers. This new energy has come at an opportune time and needs to be sustained. To suggest that Copal seizes this opportunity to really give it more substance, which and by instituting this practice at a higher body of statutory meetings of experts in these organizations which we are members. The promotion of consumption will no doubt not be easy, but it undeniably constitutes one of the surest ways in asserting our authority as far as the fixing of the prices of our products are concerned, and it's the best way to adopt to ensure that supply adapts to demands. Consequently, we need to arm ourselves with a lot of strategies, appropriate ones. We need to come up with consumption promotion programs. This no doubt to be difficult and will be a long process, but we will certainly succeed. We're convinced about the need to realize this dream. Togo has just established the Cocoa Promotion Consumption Committee. This committee, dubbed CP3C, is made up of 7 members, 4 from the private sector. Distinguished delegates, the promotion of cocoa consumption in our countries must be made based on local initiatives or processing, with a whole package of funds to ensure that we promote and espouse the health benefits of our products. We need to count, or we will count on our member states, those which have extensive experience, especially Ghana in this area. We avail ourselves of this opportunity to launch an appeal to all people of goodwill to help us in our endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen, Togo wishes to express satisfaction at the kind of diligence that the Secretary General has shown in dealing with the issue of the swollen shoe disease, in respect of which concerns were expressed here during the 68th General Assembly of our organization. We wish to express our gratitude to the Secretary General. The Togolese delegation also wishes to convey its gratitude to national research institutions involved in this study and research as far as this project is concerned. We hope that we'll find lasting solutions for our farmers. With regard to statistics, please allow me to once again to draw to your attention the fact that Togo's production does not surpass 10,000 tons, and this will be officially notified to you and should be taken into consideration during the calculation of your macroeconomic indicators. It's an opportunity for Togo to reiterate its commitment alongside other sister countries to work towards the effectiveness of our organization at a time when we have come to the end of the preferential treatment that our primary products were benefiting on the European market. God bless Copal. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the last month's African Cocoa Summit, which was the second of its kind, I addressed delegates on the theme defining a policy roadmap towards a sustainable African cocoa economy. At the end of it, member countries resolved to undertake various activities to ensure sustainability of the cocoa economy in Africa, owing to its great potential in providing employment, generating revenue, and contributing to food and nutritional security, among others. Further, the summit resolved to strengthen international cooperation among African cocoa producers and also encourage African countries who are not yet members to join the Cocoa Producers Alliance. This clearly demonstrates the confidence of members in Copal's ability to ensure a sustainable cocoa economy. Again, in recent times, members have been following with keen interest the ongoing debate about the negotiations with the European Union on the new Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA, that will replace the Cotonou Agreement. It is imperative that Copal member countries remain united in speaking against the imposition of tariffs on cocoa products such as cocoa powder and cocoa butter that will be exported to the EU countries. This is without doubt consistent with the objectives which the founding members of Copal set for themselves. It is also one way of ensuring sustainability of the cocoa economy in member countries. Chairman, it may again be recalled that just before this Copal meeting, Ghana hosted a roundtable meeting of the International Cocoa Organization, during which participants in 3 focus groups representing governments, private sector, and farmers discussed ways to enhance the sustainability of the global cocoa economy. Some of the core issues that were identified and which must be given serious attention during our deliberation this morning include harmonization of quality standards among cocoa producing countries, payment of remunerative prices to farmers, maintaining unity among member nations of Copal, processing and consumption of more cocoa at the origin, adherence to good agronomic practices, and adoption of good labor practices in cocoa farms geared towards elimination of the worst forms of child labor. Ladies and gentlemen, if we prioritized these objectives in our respective national development agenda, I believe we would be heading towards fulfilling the dreams of the founding members of the Cocoa Producers Alliance and helping to reduce poverty among a large section of the cocoa growing communities in our various countries. We in Ghana consider cocoa as an important legacy handed to us by our forefathers and which was been nurtured for both current and future generations. Sustainability of the cocoa economy therefore lies at the heart of our development efforts towards achieving a better life for our people, especially the millions of smallholder farmers engaged in cocoa farming. We pledge to cooperate with members of the Copal to achieve our common objectives, and in this regard, Mr. Chairman, I can assure all the ministers and delegates present here that they can always rely on Ghana. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I declare the Copal Council of Ministers meeting formally opened and wish you very fruitful deliberations. Thank you, and may God bless us all. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. After the authorization to carry on with our council meeting delivered to us on behalf of the highest voice in the land, we have come to the end of the ceremonial aspect of the opening ceremony of the Council of Ministers. The agenda has 7 items: the adoption of the agenda itself, the report of the Secretary General on the state of the Alliance and questions arising from the report, the election of the Bureau for 2007-2008, the report of the Chairman on the deliberations and recommendations of the General Assembly, the oath of office of the Deputy Secretary General, any other business, and adoption of the record of decisions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Is there any additions or comments or suggestions of issues that we should add to the agenda? If it is, please indicate. Please go ahead from Nigeria.
Mr. Chairman, sir, on any other matters, I think we may discuss relocation, if need be. Location of the ICCO to a new place in West Africa, to Côte d'Ivoire.
All right, you can raise that under any other matter towards the end of the session. Yes? All right. May I call, the quorum is formed, the meeting is called to order. We may now proceed with the agenda as adopted. May I call on the Secretary General, please, to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to begin our report on with looking at some global indicators. Generally, the world economy has expanded in the course of the 2007 year, 5th year in a row, with a growth output of about 3% per annum. Developing countries are showing very strong growth, which translates into very good demand for primary commodities. When we look at the terms of trade, we see that since 2003 there's a very positive trend in terms of trade. Developing countries have benefited from this, strengthened their external and fiscal balances, which would lead obviously to increased investments in their economies. This has also led to the raising of the prospects for progress towards the Millennium Development Goals that were set. The major risk here, of course, is the busting of the housing bubble in the United States, leading to a recession. China and India continue to set the pace for growth on a worldwide basis. Africa is expected to grow at around 6%. Latin America and West Asia will slow down slightly, down to about 5%. GDP in transition economies expected to be at about 7% in 2007. However, the gap, again, or the cleavage between developed and developing countries seems to remain very wide, Mr. Chairman. In terms of achieving the goals that were set 7 years ago, a blueprint towards a better world in 2001, achieving the Millennium Development Goals. The report of 2006 indicates that in 1990 we had about 1.2 billion people, approximately 28% of the world, of the developing world population, living in extreme poverty. This has decreased, so a little bit of good news, to about 19%. Poverty rates have fallen in much of Asia. Progress has not been so rapid in Latin America and the Caribbean. In West Asia and North Africa, mainly unchanged. Poverty rates have increased in transition economies of Southeastern Europe and the Commonwealth of Independent States, declined marginally in sub-Saharan Africa. Many sub-Saharan countries are now showing potential for long-term growth, in any case, that could bring up standards of living. When we look at the cocoa sector, the entire world cocoa economy is talking about its sustainability. And in other words, having enough cocoa to supply the market demands and to leave in place the precursors that are necessary to supply adequately the market demands for tomorrow. And the sustainability of cocoa articulates around 3 pillars: economic, social, and environmental. And from a Copal or producer standpoint, we have agreed that economic sustainability is a precondition and it's preponderant over the two other aspects, even though they are all three in the same working towards the same goal of sustainability. What producers can do, we have summarized into 3 major areas: productivity, efficiency, and quality towards sustainability. When we look at productivity, Mr. Chairman, it's a major problem, a major area of concern for producers. West Africa continues to be the biggest supplier to the world market. Unfortunately, productivity is lowest in this area. According to 2006 ICCO data, between 200 to 300, 400 maybe kilograms per hectare. So we need to do a lot of work to make our production more efficient or increase the productivity. But productivity, Mr. Chairman, cannot be taken in isolation, because if we look at the hectarage today under cultivation for cocoa, the FAO estimates that the eight leading cocoa producing countries in the world have 7 million hectares planted to cocoa, and 5 million of these hectares are in West and Central Africa alone. Therefore, if productivity was a sole objective and each country attained an average level of 1.5 tons per hectare, which is common in some of our member countries, we would expect a total production to be 10 to 11 million tons, and we will need to get on our knees for people to take cocoa beans from us. So it will be counterproductive when we look at it in terms of remunerative prices. So improved productivity has to be accompanied by some measures, and we have pointed out some of those, which would be a reduction of the surface area planted to cocoa if we are improving on our productivity, so that the additional land so disposed could be used for alternative sources of income for farmers, so that they don't have all their eggs in one basket. Productivity comes with the increased use of or availability of improved planting material that are more tolerant or resistant to pests and diseases, which continue to be a major problem, and also the diversification of our agricultural systems to alternative crops, short cycle crops that also could be very remunerative. In terms of efficiency, we've seen that in countries that have liberalized their cocoa sector, the delivery chain or the value chain has been lengthened, and generally those segments of the chain that do not add value to the cocoa effectively take value out of the cocoa, and the residual price that is left for the farmer is smaller and smaller, and it gets more and more difficult for him to meet up with his production, with the production costs. Now, there are various systems that are practiced in our various member countries. Those that have liberalized, we would encourage that they strengthen the private sector to be able to command the same type of confidence in the market that the board systems and the caisse de stabilisation used to have in terms of forward sales, which would bring in additional premiums to the prices and therefore raise the residual price that the farmer does receive. Second aspect is to organize farmers into farmers groups or cooperatives, so that they can incorporate some marketing of their own and shorten the chain, again to improve farmers' income, as this pyramid shows. In terms of quality, Mr. Chairman, we have been used to the traditional aspects of quality, which are physical, bean size, the number of flat broken beans, and other impurities in our lots. In terms of product quality, we've talked about flavor, we've talked about good post-harvest practices, fermentation to give the flavor that goes to our chocolate, with the fat content of our beans, free fatty acids. And when we look at safety requirements nowadays, we see that this is becoming more and more of concern to our consumers, the issue of mycotoxins in general, ochratoxin A, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, heavy metals that sometimes are part of our volcanic soils and they're difficult to manage, but we need to collaborate to see how we can minimize the negative effects of this. Mineral oil was a big problem for jute sacks, and we went to hydrocarbon-free bags a few years ago. Pesticide residues, European Union fixing maximum residue levels. And with this, we need to consider good agricultural practices that make sure that the levels are maintained below the levels that are stipulated by our consuming countries, and pay attention so that banned pesticides don't find their way into our farming areas and our cocoa farms. The industry is looking for in terms of quality, physical and technological quality. What that means is that they want to have in a bag of beans that are homogeneous. I think to industry or to a factory, it may make a difference if you have small beans and large beans, or if you have 100 beans per kilogram. But the industry would like to know if in a bag you have all small beans or all large beans, so that they can regulate their roasting temperatures. Because if you have beans that are much smaller, they seem to roast faster and burn, and sometimes you have quality problems from the smoke of these beans that are burnt. They also are concerned with food safety, the residues and contaminants we mentioned earlier. Quality control systems that are in place in our producing countries. Mr. Chairman, it is no longer sufficient to say that the cocoa sector was liberalized and quality control is done by the private sector. We need to know who does the quality control. It is also important to know at what point in the chain the first quality control is being done. Is it at the farm gate? Is it at the LBA, the license buying agent's warehouse? Is it at the exporter's warehouse? If it is anywhere outside the farming community, whether a reception center or the farm gate, it is a bit too late. Quality is not made at the port of export. So I think we need to know who does quality, when the first quality control is done. We also need to know, or to put in place, rewards and sanctions, as the case may be, for good or poor quality. We also need to have the sensorial capacity to determine some quality analysis. We need to have traceability. The ethical aspects include social responsibility, labor issues, and we want to make sure that we don't damage the environment in our production processes. Now, Copal is way over 40 years, and the world economy has changed, cocoa economy has changed over this period. We at the Secretariat feel that it may be a good idea for us to review the role of the Copal Secretariat in meeting the objectives of the Abidjan Charter, how we can coordinate activities, mainly to do with follow-up to ensure that recommendations are being applied. We don't have those kind of instruments. We need maybe to look at the vision statement, mission statement, and the functions and structure of the Secretariat. So it's a proposal to Council that maybe a committee of member states could be put in place to review this. We have taken several decisions in the Council. For example, the way the votes are calculated in Council decisions that are not being permanently placed in the Abidjan Charter as a mode of calculation of votes. For one example, another issues that have been taken into consideration over the years and as Council decisions that are statutory matters which would need to be in the Abidjan Charter. So this revision may lead to a slight modification, maybe an alteration or a bringing up to date of the Abidjan Charter to be submitted to member countries. In any case, this is a proposal. Mr. Chairman, today one of the delegates raised the issues of complementarity between Copal and the ICCO. We feel that this is something that the Secretariat would look at over the next year and make proposals so we don't have any duplication. We think that Copal can play a very good role in coordinating issues among producing countries, issues like transfer of technology, pest and disease, taking a regional approach to problem solving in terms of integrated pest management, development of new cocoa-based products, efforts to achieve sustainability and market equilibrium, generic promotion, and other things like and other issues that we may not have included here, while the ICCO role could be to look at the market review from a global perspective, forecasting in terms of supply and demand, projects that can be forwarded for funding by multilateral donors, coordinating to provide forum for the private sector to discuss issues and things like that. So these are areas that we'll be working on, and we would then send our proposals to the Council of Ministers in due course. When we look at the market fundamentals, Mr. Chairman, we see that the world output is expected to decline by about 0.2 million tons. That's about a decrease of about 5.8%. But in the future, it's projected to grow by 2%. The output of Copal members was down by 145,000 tons, representing about 5.5% drop. The share of Copal members in the world is still at 76.6%, and the driving force behind this lower output has been unfavorable weather in Africa, heavy rains damaging crops in Southeast Asia, and of course the eternal problem of pests and diseases. So here we can see what has happened to production from 2002, 2003 to 2006, 2007 in a histogram. In terms of production by region, Africa is still at 76%, Asia at 17%, and the Americas at 7%. So if we project this even to 2011, 2012, Africa still has the great responsibility in supplying the market with cocoa beans. Next slide, please. In terms of grindings, the output has increased by about 2.2% from 3.46 million tons in 2005-2006 to 3.54 million tons in the current year. This gives a growth rate of about 2.4%. In terms of grindings, Copal members have made a great effort. They've gone from 28% to about 37% of the total production. Most of the increases in grindings have come from traditional markets, still Americas and Western Europe, and most of these are attributable to the increased publicity in the health and nutritional benefits of cocoa. Next slide, please. And this in graphic form shows the steady growth of grindings, which we sometimes use synonymously as consumption. In grindings by region, we still see the dominance of Europe at 42%. Africa has shown very strong growth, up to 14%, mainly with developments in grinding capacity in Cote d'Ivoire. We've seen the Americas at 25%, Asia and Oceania down to 19%. In terms of stocks, Mr. Chairman, because of the deficit year, we've seen a reduction because of the drop in yield of about 103,000 tons of cocoa beans. The end of season stocks have come down very slightly to 1.86 million. From 1.86 to 1.7 million tons. This is still extremely high in terms of stocks, because we have always thought that we would be most comfortable and see remunerative prices in the market if the stocks to grindings ratio was around 34%. Here we have a 49%, almost 50% stocks to grindings ratio, and that usually represents about a 5 to 6 month supply of beans in industry. Market overview, the market has been fairly positive, starting from about 845 pounds a ton in London to end at about 1,110 pounds sterling in New York, from $1,495 up to about $2,064 between October 2006 and June 2007. Some of the events responsible for this price movements were speculative buying, unfavorable weather conditions in West Africa, and this have been confirmed by a production deficit. Activities for 2006-2007 for the Secretariat. In terms of matters relating to science or scientific matters, we will be looking very closely into issues dealing with pesticide residues, heavy metals, new sampling technologies, the developments going on around ochratoxin A and other mycotoxins in various international fora. We are going to be examining, as a member of the Federation of Cocoa Commerce, the idea of the inclusion of quality attributes to the life contract. We'll be continue our endeavors in the promotion of the consumption of cocoa, generic promotion, sensitizing the public on the virtues of cocoa. In the economic areas, we'll continue with our weekly news publication, Copal News, in which we summarize relevant market information, industry news, and we would hope to include more and more what is happening in the cocoa sectors of our member countries. We also plan to hold various in the current year, we participated in various meetings, the ICCO Roundtable on Sustainability, which took place here in Accra last week, in which the Cocoa Producers Alliance presented the perspective of producers towards a sustainable cocoa economy. We also participated in the Codex, the first Codex Committee on Contaminants, which took place in Beijing, China. And during this meeting, we held working sessions with our diplomatic representations of Copal member countries in China with a view to getting a little window into the Beijing Summer Olympics to see how we could promote cocoa and cocoa consumption from our origin countries. But the Olympics, as we found out, are prepared many years in advance, and for that occasion we were a bit late to participate. We also participated in the Indonesian International Cocoa Conference held in Bali, Indonesia, and this gave us an opportunity to discuss with the Indonesians the possibility of becoming members of the Cocoa Producers Alliance. And we are very happy to announce that the government of Indonesia accepted to host the 16th International Cocoa Research Conference in 2009, and we believe that between now and that period they would have known a lot more about Copal, that their membership in this organization could be assured. The outlook for 2007-2008 is that we'll continue to coordinate activities, especially to do with the inventory of cocoa resources in our member countries, because this creates the basis for meaningful policies on cocoa. Would revisit the issue of supply management, which has created a lot of academic problems because we've tried to examine each of these attributes individually. We've looked at supply management. Technically, when you talk about supply management without the other issues raised, it sounds like a cartel. But supply management is a logical marketing strategy if we want to deliver our crop to the market as the market and as when the market needs it. But this needs to be accompanied by production management, diversification, and an increased consumption of cocoa. We also plan to pay attention on the collection and dissemination of information on cocoa quality, cocoa requirements, cocoa standards, and to update member countries as they do evolve. Also, encourage a regional approach to problem solving. Mr. Chairman, nowadays we cannot all invest in the latest technology in terms of research structures, and we should take advantage of the strengths of one or other members of the countries to solve our problems, especially problems to do with pest and disease control, and then to strive towards increased membership. We have heard that over and over again this morning during the opening ceremony, because if we look at that critically, we look at the list of African countries. We have 17 countries producing cocoa in Africa. Those that are mentioned in yellow are members of Copal. If we look at the Americas, out of the 20 producing countries, only Brazil and Dominican Republic are members. If we look at Asia, out of the 10 producing countries of cocoa, only Malaysia is a member. And our proposal from a secretarial standpoint is thus: we know that a lot of member countries of Copal have bilateral relations with other producing countries or find themselves in multilateral setups. We believe that during such occasions, members who are not members of Copal could be encouraged by member countries to participate, so that we can increase the base for collaboration for the collection and dissemination of information on what goes on in the various cocoa sectors in member countries, and then share the responsibility of maintaining the secretariat among a wider or a bigger number of countries. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Really, I'm very pleased to listen to you and to learn quite a bit about what is going on in the cocoa world, in the cocoa economy. Most of the recommendations you made, I think, were referred to in the statements made by the various country delegations today. I welcome your really excellent report, and thank you very much for the energy and effort you put into it. Can we move quickly now, unless you want to have any comments or views?
Mr. Chairman, this is just a minor point, but I think it might have, it's of some importance. This relates to the Secretary General's report, in which he indicated that there was a deficit of 145,000 tons over between the year which has just ended and the previous year, 2005-2006. I think this is a figure that we need to look at carefully, because the statistics, the figures that we have for production and stocks, these actually feed into the perceptions on prices. In Ghana, for example, between those 2 years, we lost 120,000 tons. I get the impression that the 145,000 tons cannot be correct. So I would like the Secretary General to look at that figure again and consider what the deficits were in other countries, because we lost from 740, we went down to 620. So obviously there's something which is not quite right here. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
I take the floor on behalf of the Ivorian government and as members of Copal to express a viewpoint on a number of proposals. We wish to thank the Secretary General of Copal for bringing his report to our attention, but I want to dwell on a number of issues that has come up in his report. The first issue that comes up, which is of major importance to me, and which will also be the subject of discussion when it comes to the issues of the General Assembly, is the issue of dissemination of documents. If we want to be a serious organization, the documents which are supposed to inform the membership of Copal must be received well in time. I would really like to stress on this aspect, and the Secretary General of Copal will agree with us that the documents do not reach us in time. Documents that we are supposed to read and analyze, which we are supposed to summarize to those who are in policy positions of our states, and which we are supposed to bring to the attention of various institutions which are involved in the cocoa sector before coming to have their views before coming to such very important meetings. It is true that this is my first time of participating in a Copal meeting, but it is a recurrent issue, and we would really like to reiterate very forcefully the responsibility of those that we have entrusted this task to do so. If we are unable to ensure that documents which are supposed to be discussed in very important fora which we are participating, when it happens that people who come here come from different countries and from faraway lands, without getting the requisite documents, it's not worth it. And the government of Cote d'Ivoire always wishes to have these documents as a major cocoa producer in order to be properly informed and advised. Now, the second issue that I would like to raise has to do with the summit of heads of states, the cocoa summit, the summit of heads of states on cocoa. Now, I would like to know why Copal, which is the producer countries organization and which is participating in these meetings, does not give us a detailed report on that particular summit. Or we've already had two of such summits, one in Accra and the other in Nigeria. Now, Copal, which is an organization of producer countries, as far as we are concerned, such an organization, it's an organization of common will. We come together to solve problems relating to cocoa. So Copal should be in a situation to report to us about such things, because we are contributing to its operations, and not everyone can come and participate in its meetings. So there must be some synergy in its work. And Cote d'Ivoire, which is a leading cocoa producer of this world, is not well informed on the objectives of that summit. And I have to say it clearly, during a during a cabinet meeting in Cote d'Ivoire, the head of state told us that when we come to this meeting, we need to draw Copal's attention to all this. What is its objective in all this? As an organization of producer countries, we don't have information on the objectives of that particular summit. We want to have information from time to time. And the third issue, after the reading of the report of the Secretary General, he proposes the recruitment of an independent consultant to assess the role of Copal with regard to the objectives it sets itself in the Abidjan Charter. I think that generally in our African countries, and I would rather say in developing countries and in African countries especially, we do not really, we're not really, we don't seem to be aware of the kind of expenses that we incur. I don't think that it is necessary, considering the difficulties that the cocoa economy is encountering right now, that we should be increasing our expenses. And we have a lot of things to say on that particular item. We'll come to it. It is not necessary. We can establish a committee to brainstorm on that issue, and that can save us a lot of expenses. I want to stress here and now that already in Malaysia there was a ministerial meeting that was organized by Copal, a meeting where we did not even have all the ministers responsible for cocoa issues present, and it was merely an issue of poor organization, for the simple reason that we have the impression, and I have taken the time to read these things and consult my predecessors, that the Secretary General of Copal plays the role of a vice chairperson of ICCO, and those are two different things. ICCO, where is an organization in which you find consumers and producers. The Secretary General of Copal. Copal is an organization where we only have producers. We don't have the same interest. Martinez said this earlier on, that the consumers did not hesitate to incorporate cocoa fatty materials into the cocoa products, and each time we have a meeting of Copal, I think that really we really have to be sufficiently responsible in all these things. ICCO conducts about 3 meetings every year. Why are we not aware well in advance of Copal meetings? Why can't we be aware of the missions of Copal for the year in advance? To manage is to forecast. Forecasting is management. And I would also like to raise another issue that has to do with the funds of Copal, and say to the Minister of Trade of Nigeria, Minister of Agriculture of Nigeria, that we have to express this deep satisfaction of Cote d'Ivoire to really see, as you have said, and that has become effective for some months. The existence of the availability, you've made $500,000 available to our organization to promote the consumption of cocoa. For me, Minister of the Force Nouvelle, I've had time to travel more than once by the current Prime Minister. We know the implications of His Excellency Obasanjo, the role he has played in resolving the Ivorian issue. I really want to pay homage to him for all his efforts. So the Secretary General of Copal would wish to have an authorization of the Council of Ministers, we have learned, to establish, so that this funds will be released and be held in an account. I think as it was stated in page 93 of one of the documents that I read, I think the Secretary General should be better. It will be better for him to come up with the modalities for the management of that fund. I think that is the most important thing. And Cote d'Ivoire does not intend to associate itself with any authorization without modalities being clearly defined for the release of these funds to be held in any account. Now, the last item that I would like to touch on has to do with the issue the issue of the speech, is intervention. I would like to say that when countries decide within to associate to an organization, the ultimate or rationale should be solidarity. That should characterize our actions. And I would like to recall here of what, apart from Nigeria, what this country, Ghana, has done for Ivorians when we've gone through our crisis, and we are proud with the latest developments in this country. And yesterday I had the time to go through the city of Accra, and I saw that this city was beautiful, and that means that the population, the people, have decided to take their destiny into their own hands. We have to avoid, when we find ourselves in these organizations, and when you have been entrusted with the management of this organization, to really take actions which come to fault of place one of the members of the organization in an uncomfortable position. And I would like to state to the Secretary General of Copal that the Cote d'Ivoire does not at all appreciate the relentless nature of the Secretary General to convince Ivorians as far as the return of the issue of the headquarters of the organization. I think that as a Secretary General of a producer countries, it's better to hold on than to take a wrong step. During the meeting, the informal meeting that was held here, the 2nd October, the Secretary General of Copal traveled going to the Minister of Agriculture of Cote d'Ivoire to make certain proposals behind us, and that is not his role. If Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana has to solve anything relating to the ICCO headquarters, there are more authorized procedures to do that. And we believe that in his capacity as the Secretary General of Copal, mandated by Cote d'Ivoire, by other countries to manage our organization, he must adopt a neutral position, and we would like to stress or emphasize on that neutrality that he needs, position that he needs to adopt. Mr. Chairman, these are the comments we have. While we come out to other issues, we may still have other issues to say. These are some of the issues we'd like to raise here. Thank you for your kind attention.
I have noted the 5 points that have been raised. The first two relate to issues of communication, information flow, and I would do my very best to discuss this perhaps outside the floor, and to see how we can improve on communications between you and the Secretariat. I would expect and I would hope that the channels of communication, emails and other facilities are available between you and the Copal Secretariat, so that there's a better flow of information from the Secretary General. Generally, I have found, in my own experience, maybe because the Secretary General is located in Lagos, I have had regular flow of documentation, some of them from ICCO also, but I think it will be very useful if some effort is made to facilitate the flow of documentation, if necessary by courier mail, So I would, on behalf of the Secretary General, plead that this matter be re-examined and see how we could facilitate the flow. On the other issue that you mentioned on issues of independent consultant, your suggestions are noted, that instead of using a consultant, that a committee can be directed to participate, to take up the matter. But I would like to invite the views of the Secretary General, if he can, on a few comments, if he wishes. Otherwise, I will plead with you to give me an opportunity to look at some of these issues. Thank you for the comments that you made with regard to Ghana and to Nigeria. I appreciate also the solidarity existing between the West African countries. This is as it should be, and I pray God that Copal can continue to grow, and that the West African ECOWAS members who are in it will continue to cooperate and collaborate together to see the progress and growth of the cocoa economy. Secretary General, would you like to make a quick comment? I don't want you to answer every line, but if you could just make a brief comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the entire Secretariat of Copal, I would like to say and having been a delegate of Cameroon for 15 years, that in terms of documents being prepared on time in accordance with the rules, I think we've done a fairly good job in the Secretariat. On several occasions, the General Assembly has cautioned the expenses we incur in the Secretariat in terms of transmitting documents to capitals, which we have usually done by DHL, and there have been strong recommendations that we use electronic mail. Sometimes electronic addresses change and the Secretariat is not informed, and sometimes we send documents to the institutions that the member countries have asked us to send documents to, and these are not multiplied and sent to the other institutions. But I think we have tried to meet up with the deadlines provided in our guidelines on when documents should arrive, capitals before the meetings. I'd like to apologize to the Council of Ministers, because in the documentation we sent, we had mentioned that an independent consultant. In my presentation, I talked about a committee put together by member states
but then the documents had already gone out before we realized that actually we have an ad hoc committee that its prerogatives could be expanded to do this function, and that's why that was modified in my presentation. Mr. Chairman, there are several council resolutions asking the Secretariat of Copal to be present and vigilant in several international fora for us all. And some of them we cannot even participate in because of budgetary reasons. We participate in meetings of the ICCO as observers. We try to hold meetings around ICCO because the very delegates going to ICCO meetings are delegates going to Copal meetings, and we think that there will be savings if we hold our meetings around ICCO meetings. We don't mean to indicate that Copal is a subset of ICCO in any way, shape, or form, but it's a question of trying to make savings. The number of meetings that we hold, the number is provided in the Abidjan Charter. There are statutory meetings that we organize. One General Assembly, one Council of Ministers, as many extraordinary General Assemblies as the issues call for, and that's what we endeavor to abide by. In terms of calendar of meetings, they are very difficult to fix dates because, as the distinguished chairman of the General Assembly said, it's upon consultation with the member countries, the member country that's hosting, when the exact date of the meeting is going to take place. And sometimes by the time we know this date, there are other meetings that have already been planned by organizations that have fixed dates, and we tend to struggle with the dates of our meetings. But it's really, the Secretariat cannot say we'll be in the Dominican Republic on the 30th of September 2008 if the country does not give its approval. On the summit of heads of states, Mr. Chairman, the Secretariat is really a very small structure to convene a summit of heads of states. Indeed it is. Countries that have hosted the summit, Nigeria and Ghana, have requested the Secretariat for backstopping. There have been reports on the summit that are circulated to the member countries by the host that invited the member countries to the summit and not the Secretariat. In terms of the promotion fund, we were happy to announce that the Nigerian government had given a contribution to this fund. We had thought that the modalities of the rules and regulations of the promotion fund could have been adopted during this session. Unfortunately, couldn't have, but a fund had been created by Council of Ministers Decision 007/CM/06 of 1st September 2006 in Abidjan. So a fund does exist, created by this very august assembly, and whatever happens to the donation from Nigeria, really we are waiting instructions from the council. If the council doesn't permit us to accept, the Secretary General cannot accept on its behalf. In terms of the headquarters issue, having been in this business for about 25 years, the Secretary General, speaking now personally, was disturbed by the way the manner was treated in the ICCO. We believe that the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire came to the aid of the ICCO when the ICCO was in great difficulty and made an offer. And ever since then, because of some unfortunate circumstances in Cote d'Ivoire, the consuming countries have played on this to undermine the gracious offer that was made by the Cote d'Ivoire. But it's obvious that we are at a point, we are at a crossroads in ICCO, for those of you who were at the last meeting. And there have been several proposals that have been put on the table for alternative action by sovereign countries. Ghana made a proposal, Ecuador made a proposal, several countries have made a proposal. Our intention from a secretarial standpoint, as we said in the General Assembly, clearly was to look for ways in which other countries, members of Copal, could assist the Côte d'Ivoire to advance this dossier and nothing else. So the Secretariat's role in this is quite neutral, and it's to enhance the decisions that have been taken in the ICCO specifically. I do believe that I've covered all the issues raised as best I can, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for giving me the floor.
I don't think there was an accusation of conflict of interest. I don't think there was any such accusation. I think what I see is the need to communicate in a better way. The meeting of the Council of the heads of state, of course, their decisions and deliberations are issues of interest to members. And I would request that if such information come to your attention, that these are circulated very promptly to members. Again, there are not many members, there are only about 12 or so members, and I think really the issue of cost of courier delivery, it should be a very small and insignificant element. So I would urge you, in the case of Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, to do all you can to find a way to get the documents to them, so that communication between them and the Secretariat improves. Thank you very much, Côte d'Ivoire, on the comments on solidarity. I would hope that the matters relating to the decision of the ICCO would quite soon be overcome as soon as things stabilize effectively. So that should be kept under review. So I hope that we will support you at the right time. Thank you very much indeed.
Mon intervention se situe dans la droite ligne de la Côte d'Ivoire.
Also similar to that of Côte d'Ivoire, and I think during my speech I expressed the desire that the summit of the heads of state on cocoa should be an opportunity that we need to avail ourselves of, and I'll also invite the Secretary General just to imagine a scenario where all the members of the Copal will be interested in this issue, because these are the leaders of our countries who have taken that initiative, and today the issues of cocoa has been relegated to the domain of ministers and experts, and we need to ensure that all the other member states of Copal can be members of that summit, the cocoa summit, and we really to review the structures of Copal to ensure that that kind of forum becomes an instrument for the implementation of decisions at the level of heads of state. And I believe that our council should be able to discuss this. These are opportunities that we need to really avail ourselves of. And I'm not sure if we ourselves have ever imagined how significant these opportunities are, and the need to sustain them. It can stop one day, you never know. But today, the heads of states have the interest to create a new momentum in the cocoa industry, and we also have to make that part and parcel of our strategy, so that the organization can also see some transformation. And the delegation of Togo even proposed that it will be member of the committee that will reflect on the new directions or orientations for Copal in the years ahead, as far in the light of that initiative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Leader from Togo. Frankly, I thought that with the ministers participating in the ministerial or in the council meeting, there is adequate opportunity for the ministers to brief their heads of state, and so that the interest is maintained and the momentum activities do not diminish. If there are specific issues of concern, then I think it would then be proper to raise it or summon a special meeting where the heads of states come in. But there is sufficient platform, in my opinion, to give information to the heads of state. But Secretary General, I don't know whether there's a comment on this. What I'm saying is that within the platforms that we have at the moment, the ministers are here and they hold meetings and consultations at a ministerial meeting, and that's the highest level of governance, because every minister is an extension of the president and should therefore be able to advise the president of the priority. Certainly I would do so, even with regard to the money being donated. I would urge you to please hurry up and receive the money into your coffers and put it on deposit somewhere, and then argue and discuss what to do. I would like to go away from here with your mandate to request Nigeria to actually transfer the money to you. Hold on to it while you resolve how to pay it. But on a serious note, really, I think that there are sufficient platforms to deliberate and keep the interests of the heads of government involved in this. Cocoa is important, yes, but if you drag them more into this, it becomes a political discussion, more political discussion than a technical, supportive effort to promote the business itself. This thing is to promote the business, is to solve problems on the field. And therefore, I would suggest that you try and keep it that way for now, unless that there are issues of concern that you would like to table formally to the heads of state. Otherwise, the channel should be that of the minister, the relevant minister, taking the issues back to their government. Thank you. Let's move on now. Secretary General, do we have the report of the General Assembly? Do you want to do that first before we do the election?
Chairman of the General Assembly. The 70th General Assembly of the Cocoa Producers Alliance took place in Accra, Ghana, from October 8th to 10th, 2007, under the chairmanship of Ajay Naibi Ibrahim, Director of Commodities of the Ministry of Commerce, Nigeria, and be assisted by myself. The following countries were represented: Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominican Republic, Gabon, Ghana, Malaysia, Nigeria, and Togo. Brazil and Sao Tome, as usually, were not represented. Uganda participated as an observer. The General Assembly elected the Bureau for the 2007-2008 cocoa year in accordance with the provisions of the Abidjan Chart and the administrative rules of the Alliance as follows: Chairman, Dominican Republic; Vice Chairman, Togo; Internal Auditor, Malaysia. The distribution of votes for the 2007-2008 cocoa year was as follows: Brazil 70, Cameroon 74, Cote d'Ivoire 400, Dominican Republic 34, Gabon 21, Ghana 235, Malaysia 30, Nigeria 78, Sao Tome and Principe 21, and Togo 37, making a total of 1,000. As regards the scientific matters, the General Assembly took note of the report of the 15th International Cocoa Research Conference, which was held in San Jose, Costa Rica, from the 9th to the 14th of October 2006, with the theme Cocoa Productivity, Quality, Profitability, Human Health, and the Environment. Took note of the progress made in preparations toward the 60th International Cocoa Research Conference and the commitment of the government of Indonesia to host in November 2009 in Bali with the theme towards rational production and efficient use of cocoa for a sustainable cocoa economy. Recommended that the Secretariat avails itself of the opportunity to encourage Indonesia to become member of the Alliance. Urged the Secretary to take necessary steps to make Costa Rica also become a member. Took note of the recommendation of the workshop of the improvement of cocoa quality and instructed the Secretariat to transmit the European Union List 2 on banned pesticides. The General Assembly further instructed the Secretariat to transmit the least international standards to all member countries and update them on recent developments when necessary. Urge member countries to actively participate in Codex Alimentarius meetings in order to ensure that our interests are taken into consideration in decisions on quality and other related issues on cocoa. Urge member countries to take note of the measures adopted by the European Union on the maximum residue levels because of their harmful effects. Urge member countries that have privatized quality control to draw up terms of reference for the private companies retained by the country to do these checks and ensure that these quality control checks are adhered to. Urge member countries to strengthen human and institutional capacities in order to face the challenge of quality control. Took note of the swollen shoot problem in West Africa and encouraged the Secretariat to finalize the regional project to control swollen disease as soon as possible. Recommended that participation of researchers in all scientific meetings organized by the Secretariat and for member states to cover the cost of their participation. Note that the Secretariat's concern not having received feedback on the implementation of the recommendation from workshops organized since 2004 and instructed that the summary documents to draw up to serve as a basis for a meeting to be held to assess the progress made and determine appropriate follow-up action. Regarding economic matters, the General Assembly deliberated on the report on the review of the world cocoa economy, cocoa market report, a review of annual ICCO forecast of cocoa production, grinding, and prices. The report highlighted trends and development as regard production, grinding, stocks, and world market prices. The analysis revealed that the annual growth in production shall be 2%, while grinding shall be 2.4%. Prices generally rose during the period under review in response to the fall end of season stocks. Climate change, pest and disease, speculative buying under coordinated national policy, and changes in disposable income were some of the factors that influence events on the world cocoa economy. Findings on the virtues of cocoa also continue to have a positive impact on demand. It was observed that the first quarter of the cocoa year, October-December, always had lowest price level of the year attributable to early arrival from West Africa. It was also noted that member countries have different sales strategy based on their different marketing systems and that most countries lack a database on cocoa resources which was necessary for decision making. It was recommended that producers needed to manage supply in accordance with demand to be able to achieve a sustainable equilibrium between demand and supply and remunerative prices. Accompanying measures shall include production management, diversification, promotion of cocoa consumption, and coordinating national policies. The General Assembly therefore recommended that the Economic Committee organize a workshop seminar on policy coordination to compare marketing strategies with a view to maximize returns to producers. Regarding promotion matters, the General Assembly was updated on a new findings on the potential health and nutritional benefits of cocoa consumption. Members made country reports on their various promotion activities. It was concluded that producers needed to organize themselves to take up the challenge of the promotion of the local consumption of cocoa. The General Assembly recalled that Council had approved the promotion fund on the 1st of September 2006 in Abidjan, Decision 007-CM06, and noted with gratitude the $500,000 donation to the fund by the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Secretary General was authorized to accept the donation while awaiting the adoption of the rules and regulations of the fund, of its management and use. The committee agreed to discuss the issue on setting the rules and regulations of the promotion fund at the next meeting. As regards upcoming major events and how Copal member countries could take advantage to promote the consumption of cocoa, the General Assembly recommended that the Secretariat should link up with the local organizing committees of the African Cup of Nations to be held in Ghana in January 2008 and the FIFA World Cup to be held in South Africa in 2010 to work out the modalities of creating a Copal village. The General Assembly confirmed Mr. Jerome Bondo, Manager Director of Sodecao, Cameroon, as the new chairman of the promotion committee due to the continuous absence of Mr. Joel Mbianda from meetings. On administrative and finance matters, the audited administrative accounts of the Alliance, which ended 30 September 2006, and the report of the internal audit was approved. The General Assembly mandated the Secretariat to take appropriate steps to change the external auditor for improved efficiency without any additional budgetary implication. On payment of the outstanding contribution to the administrative budget of the Alliance, the General Assembly noted that the outstanding contribution and expressed concern over the implication that has on the activities of the Alliance, the Staff Provident Fund, and the service benefits of the employees. The General Assembly recommended that effort be made by member countries to pay their outstanding contributions. General Assembly approved the report of the Ad hoc Committee on Harmonization of Emoluments of the Alliance with sister commodity organizations, including the recommendations on a new structure for the Secretariat comprising the following positions. There are 14. I don't think everybody has this report, so I don't have to read it. Okay. The General Assembly also approved the various cost reduction strategies recommended by the Ad hoc Committee. This included the use of electronic mail in transmitting documents to member countries, posting of reports and other documents on the website. Members were therefore called upon to take due note of this disposition and transmit their email addresses to the Secretariat. The administrative budget for 2007-2008 of the Alliance was approved to tune of $1,800,000 US, which comprises of $1,650,000 for administrative budget and $150,000 US as 50% of the budget for the 16th International Cocoa Research Conference, as distributed below. I was distributed. You have so I think the total amounts to $1,800,000, and this report was made in Accra, October 11, 2007. Thank you.
Any comments on these reports, please?
After the brilliant reading of our friend Martinez, take the floor to talk mainly about the budget. I note with a lot of interest the results of the discussions that took place, but I would like to recall honorable members of this assembly that in conformity with the Abidjan Charter, it is the Council of Ministers which takes decisions or rules on the decisions, and with regard to the budget, I would like to make certain specific comments and which are in tandem with the report that has just been read. These comments will first of all be general in nature, and then I will go into specific details with regard to the figures, and also make sure that a large number of people who are in this hall will also benefit from our experiences in this matter. I note that generally the explanations are not very detailed and clear, and that leads to confusion. I myself, I had the opportunity of working with and the Secretary General can confirm this, during the end of the last session, he invited me to join the other colleague ministers, and I said no. I was examining some figures. I think that in our respective states today, the brother Minister for Finance and Trade from Gabon will bear me out. The trend is to come out with budgets which are clear, which are visible, and which do not lead to any other form of interpretation for the purposes of rigorous budgetary management. And there are explanations which are given, but we are unable to find these details. For example, the maintenance of a building and I don't see the cleaning of a building. I don't see the difference, but you have budgets. I can go into several examples, similar examples. Now, what I would like to note is that the cocoa economy is not doing well, and Côte d'Ivoire, which is a sister country of Ghana and also a major contributory to this cocoa economy, knows that there are difficulties in our states. Perhaps meanwhile, the contributions that we pay should be managed in the most prudent manner with regard to the drafting of our budget. Now, one thing that struck me in all this, 500 million CFA on missions. And for Côte d'Ivoire, I think that that is a lot, and it's just too much, because I saw within we had $200,000 which are for traveling expenses. And better still, it has been specified, Mr. Chairman, that this sum is supposed to cover daily expenses like per diem, so during statutory meetings. And it has been stated that the list to that particular meeting has been attached, but we never found that list. We searched through the document, we never found that list. We need greater clarity in the management of things, because in reality we are supposed to report to our states with regard to the what we are doing with the resources that we are allocated. And in an organization like Copal, we need to ensure that all the operators of the industry will be able to live or survive on the industry effectively. But when deductions are used for other things, the consequences, and the $200,000, we found that a lot, and that is 100 million safer. And that is a lot for us. And now, taking the last paragraph concerning the issue of reduction of expenses regarding communications, you have moved from 15 1,000 to 30,000. At the same time, you are telling us in the report that you are going to make investments to come up with websites, etc. The advantage that we have in investing in Copal is to generating synergy to benefit from our investments today in all our states, and I don't think the Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria will say contrary. $1 is $1, 5 francs is 5 francs, because the resources are rare and the price of cocoa on the international market, even though there have been a few rises, has not improved much. And the conduct of our consumers is not really comforting in terms of our future gains in the industry. That is why this budget that has been proposed to us, without wanting to monopolize the floor, I find it unrealistic, and I really think that we really need to ensure certain cuts in this budget and in order to reflect the realities of the cocoa industry generally. If the chairman would like us go into details, we're ready to go through these details. We'd like to stop here for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The figures I have relate only to the contributions. From each of the countries based on the votes. I don't have the figures for the actual budget that has been proposed. I had thought that those will be considered at the meetings before the meeting of ministers. I understand that the General Assembly approves the budget usually, and it is discussed by all members and freely gone into in detail. I don't know whether it is appropriate at the level of the ministerial meeting to consider details of expenditure and allocation of resources. What we are looking at the moment is the issue of contribution from member countries in accordance with the votes that are granted. You want to comment? Please go ahead.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, c'est vrai que le budget...
True. But the budget has been discussed. But the budget was discussed by people whom we sent. That doesn't make us lose anything. We do not lose anything in our power. The budget, yes, was discussed, but not adopted. The power that adopted the budget is here today. So comments were made. If we have something to say, let us say so honestly. That is the reason why Côte d'Ivoire would like to pay its modest contribution for the budget. Those whom we mandated, their role was not to approve the budget. Otherwise, our role wouldn't be justified here this morning. We have come to give mandates to the General Secretary of Copal, mandate on actions to be undertaken, mandate on means to be put at the disposal of the Secretary General to do his work. Therefore, what you are saying, Mr. Chair, we don't agree with that. We should be giving the budget, if we are lucky, Mr. Chair, to be engineers, chemists, and one day we find ourselves in an organization to which we have to make our modest contribution, then it is done. We have prepared, or in the course of our careers, we have prepared budgets, and such as the budget is concerning, in view of the general information we have, we cannot have such a budget. You have just said yourself, when we're talking of this document, you said you did not receive a copy yourself, and this situation is not normal. The Gabonese minister also was not sent a copy. This is not normal. Because we come here representing our countries. We don't come here in our individual capacities. So when we say yes to anything here, we go back to render account to our heads of state. We say the heads of state, you sent us, this is the result we have. That is what I have to say, Mr. Chair. Thank you. In my intervention, I did make a comment that the figures used by the Secretariat for Togo are not the right figures. as a representative of the minister and chair of the organization mandated to work in the cocoa and coffee industry in Togo, the contributions must be paid. So I'm coming back again to say that as far as this budget is concerned, Togo cannot fulfill its commitments because our figures for producing cocoa is not more than 10,000 tons. I announced to you earlier the figures that Togo produces, and we also said that we need help to fight against swollen shoot. So on this, the Secretariat has done a good job. Once again, I'd like to insist on the fact that the figures presented in the budget are not the right figures. It is our organization that provides the figures and communicates it to the central bank and other organizations that are interested to do the statistics and they do their microeconomic calculations. So once again, I'm insisting that the figures are not right and it risks putting in danger the budget that is there. But we cannot make any contribution on the basis of the figures presented here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please, my colleague, I would like to understand you clearly. You are saying that the figures of production from Togo, by Togo, is not more than 10,000 tons per year. Is that the correct statement?
Bien sûr, Monsieur le Président, c'est ce que je suis en train de dire.
All right, thank you. Can I have comments from others who attended the General Assembly with regard to agreeing the budget? Ghana, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I did not personally attend, but then there are some fundamental issues that we need to address to help us, come to a consensus on this matter. One, maybe we need to know from the charter as to how the processes, the approval processes for the budget. I think it's because we have rules in the organization, so that would help us to determine how the approval processes go. And on that again, as you said, there are at the committee, the General Assembly have various committees, and they would have looked at some of these things in detail as to whether at the Council of Ministers level, maybe all these details should be brought. Maybe the approval processes would also indicate that. And it would also be interesting to find out how production figures are compiled as to whether they are from returns submitted by various countries on which the Secretariat would base its report. So we need to be clear about that. And Mr. Chairman, again, we need to separate the issue of checking the accuracy of the production figures from the actual budget proposals. Of course, production figures and other things will determine your number of votes, and as a result, your obligations under the budget. So one can understand the relationship between the two. But having said that, it doesn't mean that the budget figures per se is undermined, because if we have agreed that there is a cost of a particular activity, that cost, if we accept that, that is a separate issue, as against determining how to fund that issue. So we need to separate these issues, otherwise we will end up making a lot of created a lot of problems for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me invite, thank you very much for your comment actually. I mean, there are two issues here. One is the allocation of contributions based on the voting rights. That's one. And those voting rights derive from the production figures. We check the production figures, you can establish it. If you say it's not 61,000, it is 10,000, we take note of it and work with the figures that you agree with. There's no problem with that at all. Second issue is the issue of the actual budget, money we have allocated and how we are spending it. That area again is quite simple. If you don't agree with any particular proposal, we will say no to that element and ask them to rework the details and to a point that we approve it. The point I was making is that I didn't expect that the ministerial meeting would be the point where this can be done. So how do we go forward? Can I just invite the Secretary General please to comment about this?
I apologize for all the movement in the hall of Secretariat members. It's simply because issues were raised in council that were normally we're not used to having them being raised. I say that because according to the Abidjan Charter, the council has delegated, the council is the supreme body, but has mandated the General Assembly to take a certain number of decisions except policy issues relating to the International Cocoa Agreement, which cannot be resolved by the General Assembly under Article 2 of the Abidjan Charter, admission of members under Article 3, changes in the seat of the alliance under Article 4, appointment of the Secretary General and Deputy Secretary General under Article 5, dissolution of the alliance under Article 15, and sanctions for non-fulfillment of obligations by members under Article 17. These are areas that are strictly under, the council. When we consider the administrative rules of the alliance, Rule number 48.2 says that at its annual General Assembly in September-October, the Alliance shall approve the administrative budget of the organization for the following financial year and assess the contribution to be made by each member to the finance that budget. In exceptional circumstances, the Secretary General may submit to the Alliance proposals for a supplementary expenditure during the financial year. But the summary of this Article 48 is that the budget is discussed and approved by the General Assembly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Can I ask my colleagues from Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, are you satisfied with the comments that has been made with regard to the procedure?
Monsieur le Président, nous ne pouvons pas être d'accord avec ce commentaire.
Cannot agree with that particular comment. Because our position is clear. Mr. Chairman, if you take, for example, Article 6 of the Charter, which talks about powers and functions, it is clear that the Council, that is the Council of Ministers, is the supreme authority of the Alliance, who has all the powers with the exception of the issues pertaining to the personal statutes of the Secretary General. And that is what has been stated. And when we are talking about all the powers, it is regulated. Now, when we come to Article 6, that is referring to, that is what has to do with the staff, and we are talking about the budget. And that cannot be anything else than that, for the simple reason that the funding of the activities of Copal comes from the resources that are collected of our respective states and from the sector itself. So we know the level of our resources. We know the kind of difficulties our countries are facing. So as far as that is concerned, I do not agree. And I'll even go further to say that if you take item 6.3, we say that the General Assembly is responsible to the Council and works under the direction of this and ensures the effective operation of the Alliance without prejudice to any of these powers. The Council can vote by simple majority and delegate to the General Assembly any one of these powers with the exception of the following. So, I would like to say, state, where does it state that that the vote on the budget has been delegated to the General Assembly? Where is it stated? So, Mr. Chairman, I think that our states are becoming more and more modern. Ministers are becoming much younger. And same as our technocrats, and are reading these documents with a lot of attention. We came here with all the requisite documents, and that is why, if the Secretary General of Copal believes, and I listened to what he said, that in his as far as his understanding goes, the budget has been approved. Cote d'Ivoire does not associate itself to that, and the Secretary General will assume the consequences because we are not ready to fund something that we have not approved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me try and clarify the position as far as I can see. There is no disagreement on the authority and power of the Ministerial Council. There is no argument about that. The Council of Ministers may delegate responsibilities to the General Assembly on issues of budget and other matters. But where there is a disagreement, of course, the matter can come back to the Council of Ministers for discussion and agreement. That I acknowledge. From what I have seen at the moment, apart from their views and views of Togo, the impression I have was that the budget was discussed in the General Assembly and agreed generally. But if there are specific complaints about it and you're not in agreement or you have changed your mind, then the matter can be raised and we can set up a small committee to harmonize the interest of all parties. But it will be very difficult for this ministerial committee now to go line by line on the budget to try and work out whether it is $200,000 for travel or this. I don't think it's appropriate for us to go down into a line by line consideration of the budget. So I would really plead with you to concentrate on the principle of the matter, which in this case is that we will re-examine the point made by Togo with regard to the quantities that gives rise to voting rights. We will look at that very quickly and come to a decision on that, and you giving the information to us, and we try and harmonize that. The issue of contributions, is there any disagreement in using voting rights to agree the contributions by each country? Is there any disagreement in that? If there's no disagreement with regard to contributions, we now look at the budget proposals. Budget proposals relate to a plan of expenditure. If you don't agree with that, we can ask the Secretary General to remain within the previous year's budget while we re-examine the budget proposal for 2008. So that way, we don't spend the whole day here arguing about this matter, so that it's simple. Please, Gabon.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. J'hésitais à intervenir.
To take the floor because I did not see how we could really move forward. I think that in most of our organizations, we are really confronted now with this problem between the mandated and those who give the mandate. And that is, this discussion on the budget really shows that well, you have been able to reconcile the positions. But I would like to say that with my small background in Price Waterhouse, we are not talking about Price Waterhouse here, but I think the first figure I saw had to do with the remuneration, because the statute states that it's the General Assembly that decides. Now, this General Assembly decides on what parameters, on what benchmarks, because the Secretary General of Copal's position has been aligned to that of the Secretary General of the United Nations. And really, you know, but the general, the Secretary of General of Copal, you know, being his position being aligned to that of the Secretary General of the UN, no, that raises some questions. But I think that your comments are rather, you know, wise and prudent one. Perhaps we can remain within the limits of the previous budget, and then while we find the modus operandi for whatever budget proposals for the next year. As a Minister of Finance, I normally have a draft budget that I consider. Then I authorize my collaborators that, well, we agree to review the budget upwards on condition that I've seen the draft proposal from the onset. But I have not received anything. I've not received any budget estimates. And you are not, you are right. You are very right. We cannot, at the level of the Council of Ministers, go into the details of this budget. It will not be a very productive approach to our work. But you can also appreciate what I'm saying here, that there are issues which perhaps need to be readjusted a bit. I'm coming for the first time for a very long time. When I look at remuneration rise by 30, 40% or more, I'm a bit uncomfortable. Well, but with regard to the staff statutes, but the General Assembly is from where? It's a result of government's representatives, etc. And I represent the President Bongo. That is clear. And as you said earlier on, you don't, you know, there's no special organization which is going to inform him. I'm the one going to inform him, and we are putting an organization where the General Assembly is empowered to take certain decisions that we may have problems in going back on. So I support your position, what you stated earlier on. Perhaps do we need to remain within you know, the ceiling of the previous budget, and then try and organize a new modus operandi which will be acceptable to our states. And even intellectually, as a Minister of Finance, I'm surprised to validate a budget by the respect to the General Assembly, which is supposed to have done a satisfactory work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should make progress on this. We have two options. Let me first of all summarize the situation as it is. There is a query with regard to the contribution by the various countries. Togo delegation raised some matters in that, and I have given them assurance that I would, through the Secretary General, investigate the figures, the appropriate figures, the correct figures to be used in this matter, and use such figures to now determine what has to be contributed by Togo. With regard to Cote d'Ivoire, is there any anxieties or worries with regard to the level of contribution? Is there any disagreement with regard to the level of contribution to be made by Cote d'Ivoire? Is there any?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Chairman, the contribution of each state varies from one year to the other, based on various strengths. They vary. And to also add to what the Minister of Economy and Finance of Gabon has said, we have two options, and we are told that in order to be made, a proposal is being made to align the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General on various new salary levels. Fine. But if we cannot respect the decisions that we have taken, if we know that we cannot respect the decisions we have taken, why do we have to take them? To say that the Secretary General of Copal will be aligned to the Secretary General of the United Nations, that implies directly that we need to regularize his salary levels and regularize a number of things which will have an impact on a financial impact on the contributions of the state. And I'm saying that the cocoa economy is not doing very well. It's true, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the maneuvers that you are trying to do to harmonize points of view, but we must be able to say the truth to ourselves. We cannot come to this meeting and agree on things that we cannot apply tomorrow. With regard to staff, for example, we have said that we agree that one individual who is satisfied will give the best of him or herself. A salary is an important factor. Wherever you go, with regard to management of human resources, you'll be told this truth. We agree. But in a gradual manner, so there are decisions to be taken. We agree, but we are really. It's most unfortunate that the Council of Ministers will be turned into a discussion kind of body. But the Ivorian delegate expressed his position and stated that we are not sure that their minister who will be coming will accept that, and I have come and I'm expressing the position of my country, and I have expressed it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry this is taking some time, but I think it's necessary to resolve the matter. It is necessary to resolve this matter. It is a challenge that we must apply our intellect and our statesmanship to try and decide. The point being made by Côte d'Ivoire is that they do not agree with the budget as proposed, and that the budget as proposed is what has given rise to the level of contribution being called up, through which they now have to subscribe. Therefore, if the budget was lower, probably the level of contribution also would have been more reasonable. Having regard to the complaint that the fortunes of the cocoa economy is not healthy enough, they are showing some anxiety with regard to contributions that they are going to make. That is clear to me. And therefore, they are proposing that we live within our means. That is, that the level of expenditure should be at least brought down or maintained at the level that existed, so that further contributions cannot be made at this point. It's quite reasonable. But my worry is that this matter ought to have been raised at the General Assembly. So can I plead with you now to stand down this issue of discussion of the budget in detail and request that we maintain the level of contributions as done in the outgoing year, pending the resolution of this matter. If that's acceptable to Ivory, to Côte d'Ivoire, and to others, then we go on the basis of existing contributions and the budget as at last year, in terms of a belt-tightening process because of the hardship that the cocoa business is facing. Is that agreeable to all of you? Then we can then go forward. Can I have some views from our brothers from Ghana?
Mr. Chairman, I think we are comfortable with that position for now, that if there are any difficulties in terms of the details, we may rely on using the last year's levels so that the details can be resolved at a different forum.
To Côte d'Ivoire?
It's also agreeable to us. Mr. Chairman, that is agreeable to us. We agree with that proposal, and we commend you in the way you are conducting this meeting.
Our brother from Togo, would you accept the points we've just made with regard to the figures that lead to the contributions as an interim measure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a very good measure, a proposal that you've made, and I commend you for that.
Therefore, that we are making with regard to the contributions is that we maintain the contributions as exists currently. We will take complaints and suggestions from member countries with regard to determining the new level of contributions. I'll resolve that before the next meeting or at the next meeting. Third decision is that the budget should be operated at the levels that we just done in the outgoing year, in spite of the discomforts. But I would propose that a small committee perhaps should look into this, if you agree. And in that committee, perhaps we can suggest about 3 or 4 people who would, 3 or 4 countries that will handle this. For me, I would plead with Ghana to be part of that committee, and possibly Côte d'Ivoire, and maybe one other country to come in and form this committee to have a look at the budget, at the mechanics of the contributions, so that at least you can have the matter resolved harmoniously.
To would like to propose itself as member of that committee.
So the committee should be Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, and Nigeria. And I will please request that the delegations take a date and try and resolve this, take on this matter very quickly, including the points made by the Togolese delegation. Is that agreed? Is that agreed? 4 members. Yes? I'm tempted to include the Minister of Finance from Gabon, but I know he's very busy and may be difficult, particularly having regard to his experience with Pricewaterhouse. But if you're not too busy, I would welcome your intervention.
Mr. President, I thank you very much, but I'm really very busy for now on all these issues, so I'm really sorry not to participate. But I will be with you. I know that you will manage it very, very marvelously. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, thank you. Okay, thanks a lot. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's important that we do not get into any disagreement with regard to issues of money in this way and budgets. I think we should maintain the solidarity of Copal. It's really very important. My brothers from Ghana, please speak up.
Mr. Chairman, I think the first issue is about the mandate. I'm not very clear about the mandate. Is the mandate that this group takes a decision and that decision is binding, or does it have to come to the General Assembly? The Council of Ministers, or what? Because each one of them, I think, meets once a year, right? Yeah. So it will mean that if the mandate, among us is here, that committee's decision should then be effected, take effect without resorting to the General Assembly, then we know what to do. Otherwise, at the end of the year. And that probably if our friends from Malaysia will join us, that will have given us some balance, but I don't know what if that will be acceptable to them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. According to the suggestion of the member, Malaysia has got no problem in being asked to help out to more of getting things together. Maybe just to enlighten Mr. Chairman, the budget was discussed in the ad hoc committee where Cote d'Ivoire chair, and in reality Cote d'Ivoire did raise all those problems as the Honorable Minister of Cote d'Ivoire mentioned. All these were raised, but we felt that things could have been settled more, but there was no response, and we did indicate in the discussion that we would agree as long as Cote d'Ivoire goes, and if there's anything, we did mention that such matters should be brought back to our respective government. Like instance, we will bring it back to our ministers for reconciliation, and if everything clear, then we bring it back. We did mention that the sovereignty of every state should be taken care of in all aspects and in all matters. So if you think that we have a role to play, we are willing to play, to do along to make sure that everybody is happy and workable. Thank you, Chairman.
Malaysia, I would plead with you to please join. It will help build a consensus, and consensus doesn't hurt. I would suggest that, having regard to the fact that the matter was discussed in detail at the subcommittee level and passed through the General Assembly, it had a broad agreement. But one or two people were not quite happy with it, and I think it is important for us to review it. And once the committee comes forward with a consensus, reaching a solution among themselves, that will be accepted by the Council of Ministers. What I'm saying is that so long as it doesn't call for a vote, that the matter is harmonized, increasing or reducing or agreeing a budget, once that is agreed by the members of this committee in a consensus, it should be adopted completely as the position of the General Assembly and that of the Ministerial Committee. I hope that you see my point. There is no need to refer the matter anywhere anymore. It just becomes adopted, and the Secretary General is advised, and the matter remains the budget of the organization. That is what I'm suggesting, so that we minimize the need for backward and forward and expenditures on air tickets. So that is really what I would propose. With regard to Togo, the matter is straightforward. There's a contested figure of production. Check it out. Let's check what it is, and I agree it now. And also, when you review the budget, look at that element of contribution, just to reconfirm the factors that you have used in calculating the element of contribution, and that will be agreed by everybody. Agreed? Thank you. I've asked the Secretary General to comment on this matter. The overriding decision is that of the Ministerial Committee. That is the overall decision. And since he is a servant of that committee, I would propose that there's no need for further explanations. He should walk through the ad hoc committee we have set up. Secretary General, if you have any views to express on the matter, please make it available to the ad hoc committee at that point, and then they will take your views into consideration. I do not wish to take those views on the floor of this Ministerial Committee. It's just a matter of procedure. I'm sorry, thank you. Can we go on now to the issue of election?
Can't we do that?
Secretary General, please, can you guide me on this?
Mr. Chairman, just a small point here. Are you in your ruling, are you giving some timeline on when this committee should come out to meet, and how do we fund the meeting of the subcommittee?
My difficulty, I thought that we could probably, within a very short time, even on this occasion of this meeting, meet quickly and resolve the matter. It's not really a complicated matter. I would think that over a glass of beer or something, that you could do justice to this very quickly and come to terms, frankly. And budget reduction is quite normal in our countries. I received a fiat, a directive, your budget must be cut by 25%, and I didn't have a choice. I mean, if I was proposing an increase in wages and expenses for myself, I just had to guillotine it. So I would suggest that in the same spirit, have a look at the complaints that have been raised and try and look into it tonight or as soon as we can finish and come to terms with it and advise the Secretary General, who can then write to everybody, and that is done. I think that's a better way. We don't want to incur any further expenses in trying to deal with this matter. Please, I would appreciate your understanding.
And the election of the chairman and the vice chair of the Council of Ministers is done in accordance or in compliance with Article 5 of the Abidjan Charter, and is done on a rotational basis. For the current year, the status of the various members are as follows. Nigeria is the chair, Dominican Republic vice chair, and the members are Togo, Malaysia, Brazil, Cameroon, Gabon, Sao Tome and Principe, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire. To this end, and in accordance with those rules I cited, the Council is called upon to elect its bureau for next year as follows: Dominican Republic chair, Togo vice chair. Therefore, for the 2007-2008 cocoa year, the status of the members will be as follows: Dominican Republic chairman, Togo vice chair, members Malaysia, Brazil, Cameroon, Sao Tome and Principe, Gabon, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. The Council may also wish to express and place on record its gratitude to the outgoing bureau for services rendered to the organization during 2006-2007 cocoa year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any comment? Is that agreed, please? I'm not quite familiar with the procedure. So in some meetings, you call for a motion. In other meetings, you just call for general agreement. Is that agreed by all members, please? If you agree, just raise your platform. If you agree. If you agree, raise Togo. You agree, you raise your plaque. You agreed? Okay.
Oui, le Togo remercie l'Assemblée pour cet honneur. Et le Togo accepte.
Togo fully accepts this to play this role. That is all I have to say for now. On behalf of my country, the honor bestowed on us, which signifies that we have the responsibility as the chair country for the year 2007-2008. And I wish to reiterate, we wish to reiterate that we are happy for the offer that the General Assembly has made on us. We desire and we will do our best to see to that the 71st annual general meeting takes place in the Dominican Republic. You can rest assured that we will not waste time at all to go to action. Very likely, at the end of the month or at the beginning of November, the Secretariat will be informed that we accept and we are acting. As you know, the National Cocoa Commission, which embraces both the public and private sector, is presided over by the Minister of Agriculture. And certainly the going will be good. We also wish to tell you, to pray you, that the subject that we are discussing, which we call in Spanish papa caliente, the hot potato, or in French, in English, hot potato. We will do our best to solve whatever problems may crop up. The meeting in my country will see to it that the problems are resolved. Once again, we thank you for the confidence reposed in Dominican Republic. Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I think it's an issue of detail. You say that normally the devil is in the details. In the issue of elections on page 2, the state status of members of the alliance, Brazil, Cameroon, Gabon, and then page 3, in the new composition, Brazil, Cameroon, Sao Tome, Gabon. I don't know whether there is a mistake. It's just a question, an issue of detail. I want to know exactly why there is that discrepancy in the two lists.
Are really not elections in the strict sense of the word, but it's a rotation of responsibility. So there's a typing error there. Would readjust that. Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, by referring to point 12.4 of the charter, the Abidjan Charter, at page 9 exactly, it is stated that on the recommendation of the President of the General Assembly, the Alliance will annually nominate during its meetings in September, October, an external auditor of recognized competence or from one member country. So that is supposed to be announced here who is assuming that position, which member countries assuming that position. I think we need to be informed about that because as far as we know, we have not been officially informed about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. This is an oversight on my part. I noticed that in the documents, in the report of the chairman of the General Assembly, Malaysia was nominated to provide that service on page 1 of the report to the chairman of the General Assembly.
Mr. Chairman, my apologies for interjecting. And my apologies to all members. Actually, Malaysia is the internal auditor, not the external auditor. Our honorable brother minister was saying about external auditor. Sorry, sir.
My understanding is that we normally work with an internal auditor, right? Okay. And Malaysia is that internal auditor for the new year. All right, thank you. Can I request the new chairman to please stand up and we administer the oath over his head to make sure he doesn't change his position. No, it's just a formality. It's just a formality. I understand there's an oath of office that you have to repeat. So that's for the Secretary General. Yeah. Deputy Secretary General will apply it, please.
Mr. Chairman of the Council of Ministers, I, Anwar Kaba, solemnly affirm to perform in all loyalty, discretion and conscience the duties entrusted to me by the Cocoa Producers Alliance and to carry out to the best of my ability my responsibilities in a manner that will further the purpose of the Alliance, to discharge these functions and regulate my conduct with the interests of the Alliance only in view, to refrain while in the service of the Alliance and subsequently for a period of 5 years immediately after leaving the said service from communicating confidential information to unauthorized persons and from using to private advantage information known to me by reason of my official position, and not to seek or accept instructions in regard to the performance of my duties from any member governments or other authority external to the Alliance. Thank you.
We are now under item 6. Any other business? Yes, please go.
Mr. Chairman, sir, we had arguments on the movement of ICCO to Cote d'Ivoire. And in the last meeting in London, I think it's almost stalled everything so that any point that was raised was put in January. We could have loved that, I could have loved, let me put it, that Ivory Coast should brief us, or the Copal Secretariat should tell us what is at stake and what we need to do to make sure that they go into ICCO, Ivory Coast, or because it will be, when we say we should unite, we should coordinate, I think we need to know a number of facts, a number of situations that Cote d'Ivoire is going through. If they are able to sort it out on their own, let them continue. If not, if they can tell us a few things which we need to know to be able to behave. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Lorsque nos collègues inscrivaient ce point au divers,
under AOB, I was just waiting for the moment to say that we did not come here to talk about the ICCO. That's the first point. Now, point number 2, if there's a problem of headquarters, I think we have the most appropriate means to contact the various member countries in that regard. We know that Cote d'Ivoire proposed its country, and if our colleague wants to raise this issue, I think the best way is to use the diplomatic channel. Togo has not come here to discuss ICCO. Togo will give its point of view when there will be an ICCO conference in which Togo will participate. So please, I will advise that we leave this item for the appropriate bodies to discuss. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me use my big stick and rule that the matter should not be discussed any further than this, and that we should now conclude this meeting. Ghana. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to report to you that we had this African Cocoa Summit here in Accra on the 3rd to the 5th of September. And it was well attended, even though we didn't have many of the heads of states here. But then the head of state, the head of government of Togo was, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Togo was here, and he actually, we were very grateful for his presence. In fact, I also want to announce that he accepted to hold the next summit in Togo, the next summit to be held in Togo next year, and that I will urge members, to really participate in that summit in Togo next year. In fact, decisions that we came up with included an attempt to increase collaboration among African producing countries, the harmonization of quality standards, to take steps to eliminate the worst forms of child labor, and to facilitate implementation of solicitation for Copal's assistance to play the role of the Secretariat. In fact, Mr. Chairman, I think I will two things: urging members to really participate next year in Togo, and also promising that we will send the reports to the various countries very shortly. The reason why we have not been able to do it yet is the fact that we've had series of these meetings coming on, and that will soon furnish information on the summit. Finally, we have actually been in touch with the LOC in Ghana with regard to the formation or the creation of Copal villages during the CAN 208. We are working on it, and we've already talked to the Ministry of Education and Sports, as well as the local, the LOC, and they are working feverishly. We are working feverishly towards that, and that we will have a Copal village during the 208 at the CAN 208 to promote consumption of cocoa. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais remercier mon grand frère du Ghana pour l'invitation qu'il vient de
that he has offered to the various countries. I was going to do this because in my presentation I was going to request Copal to ensure that the other member countries of Copal who are not who were not at the last summit to participate in this summit. I'm inviting all the member countries to Lomé so that together we'll be able to reflect on issues pertaining to Copal. Once again, thank you, Big Brother from Ghana. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary General, please to read the conclusions of the meetings that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first decision would concern the election of the Bureau for 2007-2008. The Council of Ministers of the Cocoa Producers Alliance meeting in Accra, Ghana on the 12th of October 2007, following the presentation of the report of the Chairman of the General Assembly as contained in document CPA-CM 70/03, elects its Bureau for 2007-2008 cocoa year as follows. Chairman, Dominican Republic. Vice Chair, Togo. Recommends that the elected member states notify the Secretariat of the names of the officials to perform these functions as soon as possible in conformity with the administrative rules of the Alliance. Done in Accra, 12 October 2007. That's decision number 001, Mr. Chairman, that we table for approval. Thank you.
Is that approved? I'm not familiar with your process. Is that approved? Is that approved by acclamation? Thank you.
The second decision, 002, Mr. Chairman, approves the repartition of votes for the 2007-2008 cocoa year. The Secretariat hesitates to present this table for adoption because of the Chairman's remarks on Togo. So I'm in the hands of Council as to how we proceed. Because normally the Alliance has 1,000 votes, 200 votes are shared equally among the 10 members, and the 800 remaining votes are distributed pro rata the country's production. And the rules of the Alliance say that the figures that we use to calculate the distribution of votes, the Secretariat takes the highest production level within a 3-year average, of which definitive figures of the ICCO are available as published in the ICCO Statistics Bulletin. And that's why I was asking for the floor, Chairman, earlier to plead with Togo that the problem is with the ICCO, not with Copal. The ministers have said you take the highest production level of the average of the last 3 years, for which definitive figures are published in the ICCO bulletin. So maybe it's one of the reasons we say we may want to revise the rules of the administrative rules of the Alliance. Based on the current system, Brazil would have 70 votes, Cameroon 74, Cote d'Ivoire 400, Dominican Republic 34, Gabon 21, Ghana 235, Malaysia 30, Nigeria 78, Sao Tome and Principe 21, and Togo 37 to give 1,000 votes, Mr. Chairman.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je crois que je ne vais pas revenir sur la polémique. Le secrétaire général, Monsieur Bailly, a fait...
General, Mr. Bailly has spent 25 years in this sector, and I believe, Mr. Secretary General, you know our level of production. So if there is perhaps an error in the statistics, you yourself can correct that. Since Togo has been producing cocoa, we've never produced to the level you are stating. I'm saying this and I'm reiterating it. We are not accepting this figure because it is wrong, and we are taking the necessary measures to review this together at the level of ICCO. So I don't want us to go back to this point. The chair of the session has reached a compromise that is agreeable to us, and at the time that we are adopting decisions, I don't want us to go back to on this particular issue. Please look at it carefully. If Togo has ever had such a level of production, especially when the crop is being ravaged by the swollen shoot. Swollen shoot is rather not going to boost our production. Rather, there will be a reduction. So please, we need to be honest in these things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think the point is forcefully made by Togo, and therefore that decision, let's hold on to it and carry on with other decisions and allow the Secretariat to review the matter. Is that agreed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the third proposal was the Council of Ministers, mindful of the report of the Chairman of the General Assembly mentioning the recommendations of the workshop on the improvement of cocoa quality, considering the implications of the implementation of the new European Union legislation on pesticide residues, urges the member countries of the Alliance to strengthen human and institutional capacities in order to keep up with more stringent cocoa quality standards. Done in Accra, 12 October 2007.
Decision number 003/CM/7/07. Is that agreed by Council of Ministers and General Assembly? Is that agreed? Thank you.
004, Mr. Chairman, the Council of Ministers meeting in Accra, Ghana, following the presentation of the report of the Chairman of the General Assembly as contained in CPACM 70/03, recommends that member countries commission an inventory of cocoa resources to enhance policy formulation. Done in Accra, the 12th of October 2007.
Can this be adopted as well? Is that agreed? Thank you. Please go ahead, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The fifth proposal was the recommendation that the terms of reference of the ad hoc committee, which comprise Brazil, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Malaysia, Nigeria, be extended to cover the following: review of the role of Copal Secretariat in meeting the objectives of the Abidjan Charter and in line with the changes in the world cocoa economy, and also to review the administrative rules and financial rules, including staff regulations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is it the wish that we adopt this, please? Agreed? Thank you. Go ahead.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je crois qu'il reste une importante décision.
There is one important decision that remains that we have not adopted. That is the decision concerning the budget and the committee that has been established to consider that expeditiously. I think that is a very important decision that we need to adopt. Perhaps we can adopt it in its verbal form, but request the Secretariat to put it in writing.
could you just go through again and restate the word in surrender agreement?
Mr. Chairman, but I think you made that proposal yourself. So you made the proposal. So you made the proposal for that decision, and so perhaps I may not be able to accurately quote you. So, well, first of all, one, it was decided to keep the budget ceilings as they were for the previous one, and two, to establish a committee made up of Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Malaysia to consider, to reconsider this budget with a view to adopting it with the ultimate objective of reaching consensus on the budget. I think that was the understanding. I think even you are better placed to word that accurately. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I first of all want to thank you most sincerely for giving me the honor and the privilege to chair my first ministerial meeting since being appointed. You taught me a few things and I'm grateful for it. I sincerely thank you for being very accommodating and supporting me through it. I believe in this association. I believe in it very strongly that we should work very hard to protect the interest of all member countries, since our fortunes are tied together really in this product. And I would like, while in this office, to dedicate myself to doing my utmost to ensure that the interest of Copal and the interest of member countries are protected in every fora. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to chair this meeting. I want to commend the Minister from Dominican Republic and hand over gracefully the baton to him as we look forward to meeting and to participating in all activities leading perhaps to the final meeting in Dominican Republic sometime next year in October or November. Please keep it up. We have a lot to learn from you. We from Nigeria, we have a lot to learn from you. As I walked through the city towards the airport and everywhere I went, I didn't see any plastic sheets flying around the whole city. It is a good lesson for me. It's a good challenge, and I appreciate it. We will support you in the sporting event that is coming to you early next year. Will come. I enjoyed my stay in the hotel that I have been in. It was excellent, and again, I commend you for it. The hospitality is really marvelous. So I appreciate your efforts. Please keep up the good work and continue to shame some of us across the border. Once again, thank you very much. Have a safe journey. I hope we can have, is lunch served? I'm not sure. Lunch is served. I look forward to greater participation. Any mistakes I have made are mine. Any successes belong to the Secretary. Secretary, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Just tell us, or tell the viewers what you think of this conference and what you think has been the benefit for your country.
Well, I feel honored and privileged to have been part of this 70th General Assembly of the Alliance and the Council of Ministers meeting. What has been particularly beneficial to my country is this issue of quality. Because we've had some challenges in the area of quality because we've been liberalized. So unlike Ghana, which is still very much under the control of the Cocoa Board and government, the cocoa economy in Nigeria has been liberalized. Therefore, we've had these challenges with our cocoa quality. But there's going to be a seminar in Brazil on the issue of cocoa quality, and I believe we'll benefit from it. So we really want to do a lot about cocoa quality so that we too can get some higher prices in the international market like Ghana does.
What do you think is the best way forward now after this conference?
I think the best way forward is from a secretarial standpoint to have a revisit at some of the statutory instruments that we have, the Abidjan Charter, the admin, finance and staff rules of the organization, to bring them up to date with the changes that have occurred in the world cocoa economy so that we can become more effective in the way that we satisfy what the member countries want. For me, that would be the first thing to do.
And do you think this will be done as soon as possible, or it will be done in a longer term?
A committee, or the terms of reference of the ad hoc committee, have been extended to look into those issues. So we hope, funding permitting, very quickly would convene that group and take a look at these documents. The second area would be to start to do some work towards a sustainable cocoa economy, as we mentioned during our report, so that at least farmers can benefit from the fruits of their labor. So the Secretariat will be working in these areas. Yeah.
The final question, we now have a new chairman and a vice chair. What would be your advice to them?
Well, my advice would be to continue with the same amount of enthusiasm as the outgoing chair. It is true that we've had two chairpersons from Nigeria, but that's mainly because of the change in government. But both of them have been very active for the short time that they have been there. And, we hope that they would continue, the new bureau would continue the work that was started by the previous bureau. I know that's your last question, but I wanted to add that I have spent close to a month in Ghana for various meetings on a regional solution to swollen shoot virus disease, a meeting on the summit of heads of states of African cocoa producing countries, meeting of the ICCO on sustainability, and this week on the Cocoa Producers Alliance meeting. Number one, I think I do deserve citizenship. Number two, I cannot congratulate Ghana enough for the way it organizes. Every time I have a meeting in Ghana, I can go and sleep knowing that the human and the institutional capacity is there to deliver perfectly. And I want to thank the Chief Executive of the Ghana Cocoa Board and the Minister of Finance, with whom I've worked very closely over these past few weeks.
Thank you, Secretary. Have a good trip home. Bye-bye.